Chapter 308. After Lin Jun entered the city of ancient gods, Wan immediately pounced on him. He hadn't seen Wan for a few days, and this little guy had clearly grown a bit. He was about the size of a wolf dog in the park, but he looked much better than those dogs. The mane on his head was like a burning flame, and golden light flowed on his body. His muscles were smooth, and his long tail swung back and forth when he saw Lin Jun, whipping the dust on the ground. Lin Jun rubbed Wan's big head. Wan, you've grown a lot. Have you eaten anyone these days? Wan shook his big head to indicate that he hadn't, and rubbed his mane against Lin Jun's face. Okay, then let's go now. I'll take you to eat some good food. After saying that, Lin Jun opened his lightning wings, flapped, and headed straight for the second floor. Wan still followed Lin Jun from the front and back, running in circles even faster than when he used his lightning wings. Lin Jun ignored this pet that ran at an unknown speed, so as not to be too discouraged. Although he wasn't as fast as Wan, he charged through the sky of the first floor of the city of ancient gods. Those war gods and quasi-star realms couldn't help but exclaim when they saw Lin Jun. Lin Jun was already very famous in the city of ancient gods. He had become the target of these war gods and quasi-star realms. A pterosaur flew past him, opening its big mouth to swallow Lin Jun. Lin Jun teleported above it, thrusting out his spear like lightning, directly cutting open its brain and taking out the crystal. Wan bit the pterosaur's corpse from behind, holding this huge guy in his mouth as he flew. In less than a minute, not even the bones were left. Lin Jun didn't need to walk on the ground, so he quickly reached the entrance to the second floor. Phew, this time, I'm finally here. Let's see what the second floor is like. Lin Jun had a clear idea of his plans in the city of ancient gods. His goal in coming here was to head to the third level and obtain a high-grade mutant beast's earth elemental crystal. Although Lin Jun already had an earth elemental core, this core wasn't the same as the previous two. In the deepest part of the core, there was a strong black hole aura. Lin Jun didn't dare to try to absorb it. Therefore, after some consideration, he decided to get the earth elemental crystal first. He had to carefully study the core of this planet first. Arriving at the cabin door on the second floor, Lin Jun pushed on the door, and the cabin door opened slightly. If he exerted more force, it would allow one person to pass through. Lin Jun entered in a flash, and Wan followed suit. Standing on the ground of the second layer, Lin Jun stared blankly at his surroundings. Lin Jun originally thought that the entrance to the second floor should be in a corner, but when he looked around, the surrounding scene left him stunned. The second floor was actually a void, and beneath his feet was a planet. The planet didn't seem very big, and he could see the curve of the horizon in the distance. Where he was, the flowers were red and the willows were green, and the air was fresh. It was like a paradise. Looking to the left, he could even see the silver-white snow mountain in the distance. That was the ice region, and it was the south pole of the planet. Looking to the right, he could even see the erupting volcano. That was the fire region, and it was the north pole of the planet. Overall, the planet was divided into 3 parts. The middle part was like the equator, and the climate there was very good, suitable for living. The north and south poles were 2 extremes. If he wanted to go to the third floor, he had to go through these 2 extremes. The surrounding void was like the night sky, and there was no end to it. Lin Jun first tried to fly up, but before he could fly 30 meters, a huge pressure from the sky enveloped him, making it extremely difficult for him to fly. He had no choice but to land. The legend is true. The second floor is forbidden to fly, especially in the direction of the north and south poles. Flying is courting death. If I want to go to the third floor, I can only advance step by step. Lin Jun was equipped with ice attribute astral weapons. He planned to go to the North Pole and enter the third floor from there. However, he wasn't in a hurry to go to the North Pole. Instead, he walked along the central area, wanting to understand this unknown world first. After walking for a while, he saw a person. 20 meters in front of him, a person was sitting on a big rock with food and wine in front of him. He was drinking there. Seeing this person, Lin Jun's eyes lit up. Master Dongfang. Lin Jun. Lin Jun ran over happily. This person was none other than Dongfang Jun, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Dongfang Jun was also incomparably happy to see Lin Jun. He patted Lin Jun's shoulder. "You brat, how long has it been since we last met?" "It's been a few years. I haven't seen Master Dongfang since I went to the Divine General Training Camp." "Isn't that so? Time really flies. But you don't have to call me Master Dongfang anymore. I'm not the Master of Lai Feng anymore. Master Dongfang was fired by Yu Jinhua because of me." Lin Jun was somewhat apologetic, feeling that he had let Dongfang Jun laughed out loud. "Don't let your imagination run wild. I originally didn't want to continue being the head of Bingxing. At that time, I was already on the verge of a breakthrough and originally wanted to quit, but Yu Jinhua gave me such an order, which just happened to suit my intentions." Dongfang Jun comforted Lin Jun, then said in amazement, "You brat, you're actually a 9th grade combat god? Before I came to the city of ancient gods, I had been paying attention to your situation. Your speed of advancement is like riding a rocket." Lin Jun looked at Dongfang Jun. "Master Dongfang Jun's speed of advancement is also very fast. You're already a Star Realm warrior." Lin Jun could see Dongfang Jun's strength. He was at the intermediate Star Core realm and had reached the Diamond realm. He was only at the early Diamond realm. Although he wasn't as good as Lin Jun, it was still very rare. When Lin Jun was still at the Silver realm, Dongfang Jun was already at the late Dark Gold realm. Now, Lin Jun had reached the intermediate Diamond realm, while Dongfang Jun was still at the intermediate Diamond realm. But Dongfang Jun was already a genius. Through this comparison, one could see how terrifying Lin Jun's advancement speed was. One must know that Dongfang Jun was almost 50 years old, and Lin Jun was only 21 years old. Dongfang Jun also looked at Lin Jun from head to toe and praised, "You brat, you're too amazing. When I was in Lai Feng City, I thought you were a genius. A 99% increase in genes. I've never seen such a thing. But I didn't expect you to be a genius to this extent." "Huh, Master Dongfang Jun, don't make fun of me. What's there to make fun of? Come, brother, take a seat. Let's have a good chat." Lin Jun smiled. This was the rule between warriors. When their strength was about the same, they would call each other brother. Once your strength was not enough, even if you lived for 10,000 years, you could only be a junior. Obviously, his strength had gained Dongfang Jun's approval. The two sat down and chatted for a while. After Dongfang Jun left Lai Feng City, he wandered around the ancient god ruins. His life was not worth talking about. Instead, it was Lin Jun's story that shocked Dongfang Jun. When Lin Jun finished talking about his conflict with the Vatican, Dongfang Jun said with a serious face, "Brother, you might have made a mistake." "What is it?" "It's definitely not easy for you to go to the 3rd floor. Don't look at your ice attribute, astral weapons. You won't be able to reach the North Pole with just these." Although Lin Jun was reborn, he didn't know much about the city of ancient god. He hurriedly asked, "Is that place so hot?" "It's not just hot. It can burn people to ashes. If you want to go to the North Pole, you can't do it without Ice Heart." "Ice Heart?" "That's right. Ice Heart is also called Cold Ice Crystal. It's the coldest part hidden in the depths of an ice mountain. It can only be found at the South Pole. So if you want to go to the North Pole, you must first go to the South Pole and get 3 Ice Hearts. Only then can you guarantee that you can resist the flames and pass smoothly." "Then what if I go to the South Pole?" Lin Jun asked. "Then you must get the Flame Heart. It can only be found at the North Pole. Only with 3 Flame Hearts can you resist the cold of the South Pole and pass to the 3rd floor." Lin Jun frowned slightly. It seemed that going to the 3rd floor wasn't an easy task. Dongfang Jun continued, "Just having Ice Heart or Flame Heart isn't enough. If you want to enter the 3rd floor, there's another condition." "What condition?" "Enter the stars list." Lin Jun stared blankly. Why was entering the stars list a necessary condition? Dongfang Jun patiently explained. "If you want to enter the stars list, you must first defeat a stars list expert. Moreover, it can't be a normal defeat. You need to establish a battle with the opponent. This battle is called a soul pact. Both parties swear on their souls that the winner is king and the loser is in the wrong. Only after the battle is established and you defeat the opponent the stars list will appear in your mind. At that time, you will be able to see your ranking on the stars list. So you must challenge a stars list expert. Otherwise, the North Pole will have a repulsive force against you. Then what if the person I find doesn't challenge me? Lin Jun asked. That's simple. As long as you kill him, the stars list will automatically appear. Lin Jun fell silent. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to enter the third floor in a short period of time. Dongfang Jun continued. So you have to hurry up. According to what you said, the Vatican will definitely not let this matter rest. They will definitely send people to hunt you down. I reckon that you have also revealed many of your trump cards during the battle. If you are unable to head to the third level, and they block the passage to the first level, then you will very likely be trapped to death on the second level, where flight is prohibited. Lin Jun nodded slightly. Of course, he knew the pros and cons. The people from the Vatican definitely wouldn't let him go. There would definitely be people hunting him down. Moreover, they would definitely do something to counter his mid-diamond stage mental strength and spatial folding technique. He wouldn't be absolutely safe just because he escaped into an alternate space. Chapter 309. Lin Jun expressed his gratitude for Dongfang Jun's suggestion, but he didn't want to rely on anyone for the time being. After his rebirth, he knew that his own strength was the most reliable. Relying on others wouldn't end well. That wasn't Lin Jun's personality. Thank you, Brother Dongfang, but I've decided to explore. All right, I knew you wouldn't agree, but you have to be careful. If you have nowhere else to go, you could go to the Ice Palace near the South Pole. That's Luo Yun's territory. I'm there too. All right, I'll go. Well, if you want to go to the North Pole first, then remember to be careful of Arthur's people. The North Pole is his sphere of influence, and according to what you said, the people of the Vatican probably know Arthur. They might inform Arthur to attack you. Everyone here has a walkie-talkie. Lin Jun nodded. At this moment, the walkie-talkie on Dongfang Jun's waist rang. Someone said, Dongfang, have you rested enough? If you've rested enough, we'll set off. We'll try to kill that frost centipede today. You're the only one left. All right, got it. I'll be right there. Dongfang Jun put away the walkie-talkie and bid farewell to Lin Jun. Be careful. If you can't survive, remember to find me at the Ice Palace. A layer of fiery red armor appeared on Dongfang Jun's body. Then, he flew south at a low altitude and gradually disappeared. After Dongfang Jun left, Lin Jun immediately formulated his plan for the second level. He wanted to go to the North Pole and collect at least 3 flame cores. Then, he would go to the South Pole and pass through the third level. As for challenging a star ranker, Lin Jun knew that he couldn't do it yet. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He still had a lot of time to cultivate. After tidying up, Lin Jun headed north. Xiaonuan ran out of nowhere and followed behind Lin Jun. The further north they went, the higher the temperature. The central region's flowers and green willows could no longer be seen. Instead, it was a dry and hot desert. The temperature here was more than 50 degrees Celsius. The deeper they went, the hotter it got. When they reached the edge of the desert, there were bare black rocks in front of them. It was very hot to step on. Phew, it's really hot. It's time to release some cold air. Lin Jun released a little of the cold air from his equipment, and a layer of white mist covered his body, preventing the heat from invading him. The rocks under their feet gradually turned dark red, and Xiaonuan jumped around happily. Lin Jun was a little afraid of heat, but Xiaonuan was not at all. Xiaonuan was a fire elemental galactic beast and could even swim in magma. The surrounding temperature gradually exceeded 100 degrees Celsius. As they were moving forward, several red, mutated beasts suddenly jumped out from the cracks in the rocks ahead. Every one of them was about the size of tiger, with small eyes and sharp teeth. They were sneaky, but they exuded a fierce and bloodthirsty aura. S-class mutant beast, Blazing Rat. Lin Jun also had some understanding of the situation on the second floor. He knew that this was the lowest level mutant beast in the Arctic, the fire rat. The so-called fire rat was a type of mouse, but this mouse lived in hot areas for a long time and was not a creature from Earth. On the second floor, the lowest level creature was S-class, and it could be said that there was danger everywhere. Facing these 5 S-class rats, Lin Jun was not too careless. After all, they were not creatures from Earth, and it would not be wrong to be careful. When the rats saw Lin Jun and Xiaowan, they immediately bared their sharp fangs and let out unpleasant cries as they rushed over. These guys were very fast, and when they ran, there was a layer of red light on their bodies like a moving flame. Xiaowan, I'll give you 2. Lin Jun raised his hand and took out the 7-kill spear. The thunderlight wings on his back flapped, and he rushed towards the 3 blazing rats on the left. Xiaowan also roared and rushed towards the other 2 blazing rats. Stab! Facing the first blazing rat, Lin Jun decisively shot out his spear, and a simple but very practical attack was launched. Unexpectedly, the blazing rat twisted in the air and actually dodged Lin Jun's spear. Then, it opened its mouth and fiercely bit at Lin Jun's face. At the moment of attack, the blazing rat even accelerated, almost catching Lin Jun off guard. At the critical moment, he teleported. He directly appeared behind the 3rd blazing rat, squatted down, and directly stabbed the rat's abdomen. With a flick of the spear, the rat's innards flowed out. After receiving such a heavy blow, the rat actually did not die. Instead, it fiercely turned its head and spat out a flame from its mouth. Lin Jun released his psychic force shield and forcibly blocked the flame. His hands suddenly loosened, and the spear directly penetrated the rat, and the gold chi on it was released from its abdomen. In an instant, the rat was like a hedgehog penetrated by countless gold chi and died on the spot. Phew, this is really a difficult S-class to deal with. I actually used several of my moves. However, I am familiar with your routines. You are still not a threat to me. Lin Jun brandished the 7-kill spear and continued to attack the other 2 rats. On the other side, Xiaowan's fight was even more tragic. A rat bit Xiaowan's hind leg, but it could not bite it off. Xiaowan roared and rushed over, and with a bite, a piece of meat weighing more than 10 kilograms was swallowed into its stomach. The 2 rats attacked Xiaowan crazily. Their fur flew, and blood splattered everywhere. Xiaowan also had some wounds on its body, but every time a wound appeared, a faint white light would flash on its body, quickly healing Xiaowan. That was the light power it had inherited from Lin Jun. Xiaowan was crazy enough. Lightning flashed on her body, and her speed was unbelievably fast. Other than the 2 bites she took at the beginning, she suppressed the 2 rats and beat them up. Even if the rats spat fire at her, she didn't care at all. She bit down fiercely, swallowing pieces of meat into her stomach. The rats could not escape even if they wanted to. About 30 seconds later, both rats died miserably, and half of them were eaten alive. After killing the 2 rats, Xiaowan opened its mouth wide and swallowed them. Then it ran toward Lin Jun. By then, Lin Jun had finally finished off the other 2 rats. He immediately took the crystals, and the rest of the meat was all eaten by Xiaowan like candy. Lin Jun put away his gun and took a deep breath. This kind of S-class mutant beast could not stop him. It was just that this was the first time he had encountered it, so it was a bit difficult to deal with. Next time, it would be much easier. After obtaining 5 S-class crystals, Lin Jun was in a good mood. He was now at the peak of level 9. If he wanted to advance to the quasi-star realm, he would need a large number of crystals or dark energy stones. Although he had more than 100 dark energy stones, Lin Jun, who had advanced to the quasi-star realm once, knew that when advancing, the more crystals or dark energy stones one had, the bigger the cyclone the energy in one's dantian would condense. Therefore, he needed to collect a large number of crystals. In addition to dark energy stones, he planned to collect at least 1,000 S-class crystals and 400 quasi-SS crystals. In his previous life, he had heard that when someone had advanced to the quasi-star realm, they had absorbed 500 S-class crystals and 200 quasi-SS crystals. As a result, the cyclone they had condensed was a third bigger than the other person's. Of course, not everyone could absorb so many crystals. One had to be a genius. Lin Jun believed that he could try this number in this life, but there was still a huge gap in crystals. Well done, Xiaowan. Lin Jun encouraged Xiaowan. The creature stuck out its tongue and wagged its tail. It did not look like a galactic beast at all. Instead, It looked more like a big poodle. However, Lin Jun saw that its body seemed to have grown slightly after eating the 5 S-class mutant beasts. If it were not for Lin Jun's good eyesight, he would not have noticed it. Let's go. There's still many monsters waiting for us to conquer. I heard that there are even SS-class mutant beasts here. If we really encounter one, remember to run as fast as you can. The man and beast continued forward. Along the way, they killed a few more rats and a few long lizards. The scenery gradually changed. The stones in front of them turned reddish-brown. Lin Jun arrived at the bank of a river. This was not an ordinary river, but a river of magma. Lin Jun had seen this river in a video before. It was a river that surrounded the North Pole. A telekinesis user had tried to cross this river and was burned to ashes in the end. Billowing heat waves assaulted their faces. The width of the river was at least 1,000 meters. Teleportation was impossible to pass through. It's too hot. The temperature here is at least 300 degrees. If it were not for the cold energy protecting my body, I would have been roasted alive. 300 degrees is probably the temperature of the air here. The temperature of this lava river is definitely over 1,000 degrees. However, I should be able to swim across this river if I release all the cold energy in my armor and use the cold energy from Darkstar to protect my body, right? Just as Lin Jun was about to give it a try, he suddenly saw 2 large black dots appear on the compass in his hand. They were already very close to this place. Those who could show black on the compass were undoubtedly Star Realm experts. Those who were not Star Realm experts could no longer pose any threat to Lin Jun. One of the black dots was not particularly black, but the other was already pitch black. The light-colored black that was probably an ordinary Star Realm expert. The pitch black one was probably a Star Realm expert. Apart from these two, there were 3 other light-colored dots. They were probably Star Realm experts. The people chasing me are here. Lin Jun immediately realized this. The people from the Vatican were not slow. Furthermore, there was probably more than one team. No, if I keep going north, the place will become smaller and smaller. I need to find a place to stay quickly. At the very least, I have to master the flipping river first. Lin Jun had just made up his mind when he vaguely saw a group of people flying over from afar. His eyesight was extremely good. He could roughly see that the 2 people in front of him were wearing golden robes. They were clearly elders of the church. Chapter 310. The mission to capture Lin Jun was not that easy to complete. After the Vatican's 5 hunting squads entered the city of ancient gods, aside from one squad that was responsible for intercepting them at the entrance, the other 4 squads all entered the 2nd level. Each squad had 2 Star Realm experts, and one of them was even a Stars ranking expert. With such a lineup, killing Lin Jun would definitely not be a problem. 2 squads headed to the South Pole, and the other 2 squads headed to the North Pole. When they entered, these 4 squads claimed that they would capture Lin Jun within half a month. However, after spending an entire month, they did not even find Lin Jun's shadow. It was obvious that Lin Jun had a special way of avoiding them. After many searches, the Vatican finally found out that Lin Jun had received a compass among the prizes from the War God Arena. The compass could reflect a person's star power and Dantian Chi strength. Whenever someone approached, their strength will be displayed on the compass. After receiving this news, the Vatican immediately reacted. They spent a huge amount of money to purchase 5 compasses and sent them to each of the 5 hunting squads. With these compasses, the hunting squads would not take long to search the entire 2nd level of the city of ancient gods. They believed that Lin Jun would not be able to escape this calamity. The world's discussion on whether Lin Jun was good or bad had never stopped. It was the same in Huaxia, and it was the same in Bingsheng. The number of followers of the church was too large. There were still tens of millions of followers of the church in Bingsheng. Most of these followers had been to the Church of Sophia. Now that the Church of Sophia's Grand Master Allen had personally led a team to the city of ancient gods to hunt down Lin Jun, it caused a huge debate in Bingsheng. Many non-believers of the Church of Huaxia supported Lin Jun, but this kind of support was not on a large scale. After all, these people were not an organization. They were not like the church, which was organized and disciplined. So, although Lin Jun had the most supporters in Bing City, he did not have the upper hand in public opinion. In the beginning, when the God sect was chasing Lin Jun into the city of ancient God, many followers of the God sect were still clamoring on the internet. They said that Lin Jun would be captured and executed by the God sect in a few days. Many people even arranged all kinds of torture methods for Lin Jun. Such posts were too numerous to mention. The divine sect was extremely arrogant. On top of that, the Holy See had been constantly spreading the news, assigning countless crimes to Lin Jun. The public opinion of the world was gradually leaning towards the Holy See. However, in the past month, there had been no progress in the church's pursuit of Lin Jun. This made many people who supported Lin Jun see hope and criticize the church on the internet. It was fine if there was no progress for 1 or 2 days, or even 8 to 10 days. However, there was no progress for a month. There were voices of doubt within the church. Although many people didn't dare to criticize Pope Yin Huang, it was still okay to criticize those good-for-nothing hunting squads. But who sent those pursuit teams? Of course, they were all sent by Yin Huang. In fact, this was a disguised criticism of Yin Huang. In addition to the criticism of the non-believers, Yin Huang was gradually unable to take it. For some reason, his teacher, Larex, had not been heard from after leaving the church. According to the report of the team guarding the entrance, Larex had not even entered the city of ancient God. Although Yin Huang firmly believed that Larex would not betray him, he still could not sleep and eat in peace. It was not until a month later that a follower of the church came to report to Yin Huang. "Your Majesty, the target has been locked. We can act at any time." "Good, act immediately. Now that Lin Jun is nowhere to be found, we need to do something to put pressure on him. If we can lure Lin Jun out sooner, it will be very beneficial for the church. Otherwise, we will be in a passive position." "Yes, Your Majesty. We will act immediately." In the next few days, the church finally did something that caused an uproar in the world. First, under the lead of 3 golden-robed elders, 300 members of the church attacked a building in Bingxing. This building belonged to the Bingxing Wanhao group. However, Li Wanfeng and Zhao Xiqing of the Wanhao group would not normally come here. It was the private property of Li Wanfeng's father, Li Yao. After a series of battles, the Holy See finally managed to kill the only Star Realm expert of the Wanhao group, Li Yao, despite losing 7 Star Realm experts. After killing Li Yao, they found 2 people in this building. Lin Jun's father, Lin Lie, and mother, Li Qin, were both level 7 warriors. They were brought back to Constantinople by the church. Because of the suddenness of the incident, Lin Lie and his wife were already in Constantinople by the time the news was spread. After capturing Lin Jun's parents, the news was immediately announced to the world. Yin Huang even instructed him to let the news spread to the city of ancient gods. He believed that as long as Lin Jun heard about this, he would definitely walk right into the trap. This incident caused a huge uproar. Many warriors in Huaxia stood out to criticize the Holy See's actions. The Holy See's actions had undoubtedly broken this rule. If it was someone else who did this, they would definitely not have a good ending. However, the church was different. Not only did the church have a powerful military force, they also had close to half of the world's believers. No matter how they criticized them, it did not have any effect. It only caused a large-scale war of words in the world. The situation in Huaxia was not much different. The people who supported Lin Jun and the believers did not stop their war of words. It even caused many fights. Some people even lost their lives because of this. On the second day after Lin Jun's parents were taken away, a few explosive pieces of news appeared. The first was Yin Huang's announcement that the church could only have one saintess. He announced that the saintesses of America, the European Union, the African Union, Russia, India, and Brazil would be abolished. Only one saintess would remain, which was Huaxia's Su Mingwe. This was undoubtedly announcing that Su Mingwe would be the empress. However, almost at the same time as Yin Huang's announcement, Su Mingwe, the saintess of the Church of the Gods, announced that she would no longer be the saintess of the church. And Ning, the eldest daughter of the Yin group, also announced that all the believers of the Church of the Gods would be expelled from the Yin group. The first criterion of the Yin group was that the person must not be a believer of the Church of the Stars. The three announcements appeared almost at the same time, which immediately caused a stir in the world. The group was the largest financial group in the world. Almost 1 in 50 people in the world worked for the group, which was quite a high proportion. One could imagine how big of a storm it would cause. The announcement of Su Mingyue, the saintess of the Church of the Gods, was like a slap to the face for Yin Huang, who wanted to marry her. Before the announcement of the appointment of Su Mingyue as the only saintess of the Church of the Gods, the news of Su Mingyue's withdrawal from the Church of the Gods came. Su Mingyue's admirers were all over the world, accounting for 1 in 10 of the Church of the Gods. Therefore, when Su Mingyue announced her withdrawal from the Church of the Gods, countless believers of the Church of the Gods all over the world cried. Many people walked on the streets, hoping that Su Mingyue would stay. However, Su Mingyue had made up her mind. She swore that she would not stay in the Church of the Gods. She said, "Brothers and sisters of the Church of the Gods, please forgive me for my stubbornness. In fact, 3 years ago, I began to doubt the existence of the true God of the stars. When I was in danger and almost died, my prayers were in vain. No one could understand how desperate I felt at that time. My pursuit and belief were so vulnerable in the face of the cruel reality. At that time, I met Lin Jun. He was the one who saved me. He was a very unique person. He said that he never believed in the true God of the stars and that the true God would not save anyone. I had my suspicions, but I was familiar with the history of the Church of the Gods. Other than the unusual things that happened on the day of the Gods' change, the true God of the stars was nothing more than a figment of our imagination. However, I did not withdraw from the Church of the Gods. After all, many of our teachings are good. However, the appearance of the Church of the Gods has disappointed me. He declared Lin Jun a heretic. Everyone knows about this. I did not participate in their battle. Although I want to help the person I love, I'm still a member of the Church of the Gods. Then, yesterday's incident happened. He actually sent people to capture Lin Jun's parents. This is undoubtedly unacceptable. How can such a person walk in the place of the gods and rule over half the world's population? If he is really the Holy Son and the representative of the gods, then it is fine if we don't believe in such a Church of the Gods. From now on, Mingyue is no longer a member of the Church of the Gods. I choose to be with the person I love forever. Su Mingyue and Ning's decision set off a wave of large-scale withdrawal from the Church of the Gods all over the world. Many people who wanted to work for the group had to withdraw from the Church of the Gods. Many people who liked Su Mingyue also withdrew from the Church of the Gods. According to incomplete statistics, the number of followers of the Church of the Gods was originally about 50% of the world's population. However, after the incident with Lin Jun, the number of followers dropped to 45% in the past month. After the incident with Ning and Su Mingyue, the number of followers of the Church of the Gods had dropped to 38% in just 3 days. In other words, because of Lin Jun and his 2 girlfriends, the number of followers of the Church of the Gods had dropped by almost a quarter. Especially in China, the number of followers of the Church of the Gods had dropped sharply. Many people went to the streets to protest against the Church of the Gods. They demanded that Yin Huang apologize to Lin Jun and release Lin Jun's parents. Yin Huang did not expect things to turn out this way. He was also caught off guard. However, it was impossible for him to apologize. He began to spread the news through various channels and continued to list Lin Jun's crimes, hoping to restore the reputation of the Church of the Gods. Some extreme followers also continued to defend Yin Huang. On the streets of China, there were many confrontations and even gang fights. Just when things were in a stalemate, something big happened in Bing City. The king of the mutated beasts in the Xing'an Mountains, a huge Siberian tiger called the Bane of 10,000 men, had broken through the limit of land creatures and reached SS level. Chapter 311. The Enemy of 10,000. This mutant beast had been rampaging in the northeast of China and Siberia for many years. It was a huge tiger with a length of more than 10 meters and a height of more than 4 meters. When Lin Jun was reborn, this tiger was already a quasi-SS rank. Generally speaking, land mutant beasts on Earth would reach the peak of quasi-SS rank. Once an SS rank mutant beast appeared, it was almost certain that there would be a monster siege. Let's not talk about how strong an SS grade mutant beast was. More importantly, it could command hundreds of quasi-SS grade mutant beasts, and those quasi-SS grade beasts could command countless S-grade beasts, and the S-grade beasts could command a grade beasts. In this cycle, almost all the mutant beasts within 1,000 miles were gathered together, forming an endless tide of beasts. The tide of beasts was overwhelming and pressing towards Bingxin. When Bing City realized that something was wrong, the entire city was already surrounded by mutant beasts. Standing on the walls of Ice City and looking out, as far as the eye could see, the sky was completely covered by the mutated beasts. On the ground, there were ferocious mutant tigers, agile mutant leopards, huge mutant bears, thick-skinned wild boars, lynx, elk, and so on, filling up the army of mutant beasts. The several-meter-tall bison seemed to be able to shake the city walls every time it rammed into them. The huge pangolin even tried to dig a tunnel to enter Bing City. In the sky, there were countless sparrows, swallows, pigeons, crows, magpies, goshawks, and so on. These small birds were like groups of fighter jets, dauntlessly attacking Bing City's city walls. The discussion about Lin Zhun and the church stopped immediately, and the whole world's attention was focused on the large-scale attack of the mutant beasts. Bing City's army was also very quick to respond. Countless modern war weapons began to show their power. Machine guns, missiles, landmines, rocket launchers, and even laser weapons were put to use. The city defense army, numbering up to 5 million people, began to fight back against the mutant beasts. The first wave of mutant beasts were considered cannon fodder. They were basically small mutant beasts like mutant chickens, mutant rabbits, and mutant rats. These things were not strong and were destroyed by various modern weapons. On the first day, Bingxing City's city defense force achieved great results. They killed more than 1 billion mutant beasts. On the other hand, the number of casualties of the city defense army was not high. This made the citizens of Bingcheng heave a sigh of relief. Perhaps the attack of the mutated beasts was not that scary. However, on the second day, the situation suddenly changed. The mutated birds that had been hovering in the sky suddenly attacked and caught the city guards off guard. Many fighter jets that were in the air were shot down by the mutated birds. Moreover, the mutated beasts also knew how to concentrate their strength and break through one point, causing the south wall of Bingcheng to be occupied by the mutated beasts. At this time, the value of a martial artist was reflected. Martial artists from Laifeng, Chongfeng, Tulong, Jade Sky, Guangying, and other martial arts schools entered the battlefield. These martial artists and soldiers worked together to launch a resolute counterattack against the monsters that had climbed up the city walls. The martialists had a very clear division of labor. Quasi-star grade martialists would take the initiative to look for high-level mutant beasts, such as S-grade ones. As for the war god level experts, they are responsible for dealing with those class experts. If a quasi-SS grade mutant beast appeared, the martialists would swarm and attack together, determined to prevent the high-level mutant beasts from entering Bingxing. The repeated and bloody tug-of-war lasted for 3 hours. With the support of all kinds of weapons and the concerted efforts of the martial artists, this wave of monster attacks was stopped. However, after this wave of battle, Bingxing also suffered heavy losses. As the #1 member of the World War God Alliance, Huaxia immediately mobilized military support to Bingxing. At the same time, they sent out a notice to other countries around the world to dispatch war god-level experts from all over the world to Bingxing for support. However, the effect of the support was not satisfactory. In addition to the scale of the beast attack this time, there was another main reason. Many countries outside of Huaxia had many followers of the Church of God in power. It should be known that this time, they were going to support Lin Zhun's hometown, Bingxing Bay City. Now, the Vatican and Lin Zhun were like fire and water. The Vatican had even kidnapped Lin Zhun's parents. As a member of the Church of God, they naturally had to consider the benefits of the Church of God. Therefore, when the World War God Alliance dispatched war gods to Huaxia, many countries did something. First, they used all sorts of reasons to delay the departure date of the war gods. Then, when they couldn't find an excuse, the war gods would claim that they were injured or sick and continue to delay. In the end, when they reluctantly sent a few war gods, they were mostly beginner and intermediate war gods. How much use can beginner war gods be on the battlefield? Just like when they were in Elan, Baifeng was an intermediate war god who didn't compress her dantian. She was even chased by the A-class mutant giant palm bear until she was forced to flee. In this kind of battlefield where mutant beasts covered the sky and covered the earth, the use of beginner war gods was limited. The only reliable support was from within Huaxia. All the headquarters cities sent people to Bingsheng to defend against the monster attack. In the northwest, Feng Yan'ai, Li Chengjing, and the others led thousands of warriors from the Northwest Army. In Mo Du, Tang Wenbao, Jiang Huai, and the others also brought thousands of people over. There are also the people from the God General Training Camp who are all war gods now. For example, Zhao Xiaoman and the others came from all over the country and various ancient god ruins to Bingsheng. Many of these people came because of Lin Zhun. The incident with Lin Zhun's parents happened so suddenly that they didn't have time to rescue them. However, this time, Lin Zhun's hometown was in trouble and Lin Zhun himself was trapped in the city of ancient god. They couldn't just watch as Lin Zhun's hometown fell. In the intense battle, hundreds of millions of mutant beasts died under the tall and majestic walls of Bingsheng every day. There were also many warriors who died on the battlefield with blood staining their robes. According to statistics, in the first 5 days, over 5 million people died in Bingsheng. Almost every day, close to 1 million lives were lost in the monster attack. However, the Chinese people were still very united at this time. In addition, after so many years, Bingsheng's defense facilities were also very perfect. Although the mutant beast attack was fierce, it wasn't enough to completely destroy Bingsheng. However, the number of mutant beasts didn't seem to have decreased. The attack had been going on for a few days, and there were still mutant beasts coming to help. There were simply too many mutant beasts below the city walls to kill. According to the people's past experience, this battle could last for a few months. It was a competition of resources, manpower, and endurance. Unless there was a group of super experts who could kill their way out of the monster horde and find the enemy of 10,000 men and kill it, it would be possible to end the attack in a short period of time. The satellite data also showed the location of 10,000 men's bane. It was located 100 miles away from the depths of the beast tide. Wanting to reach there and kill an SS-rank mutant beast that was protected by many high-level mutant beasts was an impossible task. Therefore, everyone was prepared for a protracted battle. However, on the 7th day, the situation suddenly changed. In addition to the 4 city gates of Bingsheng, there were 2 water gates in the north and south. The Songhua River flowed through the city, and the water gates were blocked by huge iron gates. Usually, the larger mutant beasts in the water couldn't pass through. However, it was different this time. A type of strange fish with extremely sharp teeth had appeared. These strange fish had bitten through the iron gates, allowing countless water monsters to swarm into the city walls. Countless strange fish used their fins as legs and came ashore. There were also huge crabs, wriggling water snakes, and even crocodiles that were like yachts, and a large number of mutant shrimps. The appearance of these water monsters almost caused Bingsheng to fall. Some people on both sides of the river suffered and were devoured by the monsters. Fortunately, the riverbank in Bingsheng was different from other places. There were 2 inner city walls here. They were built by Lin Zhun with 600 billion yuan from his own pocket. At this time, they were basically completed. The 2 city gates were once lost. Later, warriors from all over the country fought crazily and sacrificed a lot to drive the first batch of water monsters back into the water. Only then were the 2 newly built city gates closed. The water monsters couldn't enter the city and could only swim on both sides of the river. They couldn't climb up the city walls, so the danger immediately decreased. After that, it was time for the modern weapons of war to come into play. Countless weapons bought by Lin Jun were placed on the city walls and began to shoot at the mutant water monsters in the river. The crazy bombardment lasted for almost 3 days and 3 nights. The entire Songhua River was dyed red. Countless corpses of mutant water monsters were piled up into a small mountain and then washed downstream with the river. 3 days later, the river's waterway was basically cleared, and the number of water monsters swimming upstream was getting fewer and fewer. At this time, Bingcheng finally entered a relatively safe period. At least, there was no immediate danger of the city being breached. However, the support from all over the world was still not enough. Warlords came one after another, but everyone could see that they didn't give their all. Thus, Bingcheng could only temporarily maintain a delicate balance with the mutant beasts. It was impossible for the warriors to go out and kill 10,000 enemies, and the mutant beasts also didn't have the ability to break through Bingcheng in a short time. Perhaps both sides were tired of fighting. Half a month after the siege, the mutant beasts stopped fighting. Those mutant beasts began to eat the corpses of their own kind to gradually strengthen themselves. There were still more mutant beasts coming one after another. The people of Bingcheng also took this rare opportunity to take a breather and began to strengthen the city's defense. They also used UFOs from other Bay cities to airdrop ammunition to Bingcheng. Now that the sky was full of mutant birds, it was not easy for other UFOs to enter Bingcheng. This also became an excuse for other countries to send troops slowly. In short, the situation was temporarily quiet. However, the people of Bingcheng knew that the mutant beasts were still gathering strength. Perhaps the next attack would be more violent and ferocious. It would not be easy for Bingcheng to withstand it. At this time, Ning, who had been participating in the front line of fighting against the mutant beasts, spoke. Do you know why Bingcheng was able to be preserved? Why didn't the hundreds of millions of people in Bingcheng become food for the mutant beasts? If it wasn't for Lin Jun, who took out 600 billion to build 2 walls along the river, all of us wouldn't be in this world anymore. Those who were still bragging on the internet, insulting Lin Jun and praising the religion, I want to ask you now, where's the God you believe in? Why didn't he come to save you, devout believers? Chapter 3:12. And Ning's sudden outburst woke up many people in Bingcheng. The Chinese people were well aware of the perfunctory attitudes of the other countries. At that time, there were people who blamed Lin Jun for offending the divine sect, causing many of the higher-ups of the other countries to stand by and watch China's predicament. But now, it seemed that Lin Jun was right to offend them. These bastards were really not human. And Ning was right. Who did Bingcheng rely on to survive until now? The country said that Lin Jun could make any request, but Lin Jun chose to build Bingcheng's city wall with 600 billion yuan of his own money. Not only did he not gain any advantage, but he also suffered a great loss. Now, tens of millions of people in Bingcheng were surviving because of Lin Jun's selfless action. Otherwise, Bingcheng would have fallen because of that wave of water monsters. Looking at Lin Jun's selflessness and the church's performance in this monster attack, was Lin Jun right, or was the church right? Some people who believe in the church began to waver. On the front line of fighting against the mutant beasts, the crowd was silent. A slightly hoarse girl's voice was heard. And Ning, I support you. Brother Lin has done too much for the people of his hometown. The church's actions are bitterly disappointing. I have long disliked them. From now on, I will no longer believe in that son of a B*TCH starry sky, true God. People looked over and saw a beautiful girl standing in the crowd. She tore the starry sky true God's symbol off his clothes and stepped on it. And Ning glanced at the girl and smiled. I know you. You're Zhao Xiaoman, right? Yes, and Ning, you know me. I'm so happy. Zhao Xiaoman ran to Ning's side happily and held Ning's arm as if they were close friends. Then she stretched out a slender finger and pointed at the people around them. What's wrong with you people? At this time, you still want to defend that bullsh T church? Are you all out of your mind? For that illusory thing, you don't even know who saved your lives, right? If you think that the God sect is more important than your life, then hurry up and be buried with your God sect. Don't shamelessly stay in the city walls built by Brother Lin and scold him. Even I feel ashamed for you. Bah! Some of the followers' faces turned red. Meng Dong from his Zephyr martial arts school was the first to pull on his shoulder. He didn't even see what was on his shoulder. Then, he imitated Zhao Xiaoman's action and twisted his leg. F*CK, the God's Sect. I'm not serving you anymore. Zhao Xiaoman and Meng Dong's actions resonated with many people, and it set off a frenzy on the battlefield. Feng and I looked back at the Northwest Army. Who else is a believer in the Star Sky Sect? Hurry up and tear that thing off for me. We, the people of the Northwest, have always relied on our own strength to fight. Can faith replace the weapons in your hands? Many Northwest people simply tore off the symbol of the God's Sect and stomped it into the ground. Tang Wenbo also looked back at the martial artists of Shanghai. Shanghai is close to the sea. We may even face sea monsters when we fight. Whoever still believes in that *T God Sect will be thrown into the sea to feed the sharks next time. The martial artists of Shanghai were also very decisive. The sound of tearing was heard everywhere. Then, Zhao Liang, Shirlei, and the others from Bingsheng followed suit. Yang Jinying from Azure Sky Martial Arts School laughed and said, "Our Azure Sky Martial Arts School has already thrown the Star Sky Sect's symbol into the trash. We don't need it anymore." In the end, even Ma Yao, Wei Li, and the other martial artists of the Zephyr Martial Arts School who were not on good terms with Lin Jun did the same. When things reached a peak, the mayor of Bingsheng Bay City, Lu Ming, gave a speech on TV. People of Bingsheng, my compatriots from all over the country, Bingsheng has gone through a few days of suffering. Faced with an unprecedented scale of mutant beasts, we are united, fighting bravely, and defending our city and our home with our blood and lives. But in this battle, we can't forget Lin Jun's contribution to Bingsheng. Without his preventive measures, Bingsheng would have been gone. To be honest, as the mayor, I'm ashamed that I didn't pay attention to Lin Jun's proposal. I've also thought of building a city wall along the river, but the cost is too high. I haven't made up my mind yet. But why did Lin Jun do that? He even gave up any request he could make to the country. Instead, he took out $600 billion from his own pocket to build a waterway along the river and help us resist this wave of mutant beasts. Speaking of this, Lu Ming was a little angry. Look at the God Sect that we have believed in for thousands of years. What did they do for us? Not only did they refuse to send reinforcements, they even used their power to encourage the gods of war from other countries not to send reinforcements. They almost destroyed Bingsheng. Why did they believe in such a sect? Why did they protect him? As the mayor of Bingsheng, I suggest that you remove the God Sect symbol from your body. Take out the God Sect scriptures in your house and throw these things into the trash. Our fate depends on us, not some god. Lu Ming's order was not only seen by the people of Bingsheng. Everyone in the country and even the whole world could see it. These words caused a huge uproar in Bingsheng. People walked on the streets, demolished churches, and burned everything related to the God Sect. Occasionally, a few stubborn believers were even beaten to death by the angry crowd. Subsequently, the Northwest Bay City, the Capital Bay City, and the Magic City Bay City were the first to respond to Bingsheng's call and started a vigorous campaign to withdraw from the God Sect. After that, the South Bay City and the Tianfu Bay City also started a large-scale anti-God protest. After all, Huaxia was a whole country. If the God Sect could do this to Bingsheng, they could do the same to other cities in the future. The people were not fools. Just like the saying in the Christian era, the people's eyes were sharp. Believing in the God Sect was a form of spiritual sustenance in this post-apocalyptic world. Now, this spiritual sustenance was about to collapse. People believed in strength more. This was the era when everyone practiced martial arts. People were becoming more and more clear-headed. The people of Huaxia were simple and kind, but they were also wise. They could be as docile as sheep, but they could also roar like a lion. In the past, Huaxia was the country with the most believers in the world. Out of the 1 billion believers in the world, Huaxia accounted for 350 million. After Lin Jun and the God Sect went against each other, the number of believers kept declining. Before the incident in Bingsheng, the number of believers in Huaxia had decreased by 100 million. After the incident in Bingsheng, It caused a nationwide withdrawal from the god sect. Churches were destroyed, and the number of believers kept decreasing. In just 2 days, the number of believers in Huaxia had decreased to 80 million, and this number was still decreasing. As for the Bingqing area, it was basically impossible to find any true believers in the god sect. The sea of mutated beasts outside gave the people too much pressure to survive. Lin Zhun's incident was the fuse. The main reason was that the god sect did not do anything and even hindered them. This led to the unprecedented unity of the people of Huaxia. A single spark can start a prairie fire. And Ning stood on top of the city wall and said softly. At this time, she missed Lin Jin dearly. She did not know how Lin Jin was doing. My love, our home is still here. You must come back safely. The incident in Huaxia caught the Vatican off guard. Gotcha! The white jade wine cup was smashed into pieces by Yin Huang on the marble floor. Damn Lin Jun. He is already at the end of his rope in the city of ancient gods, and he still dares to do this to me. He is really haunting me. Yin Huang was furious. It was true that he had captured Lin Jin's parents, but the Huaxia government had strongly protested against this and demanded that the Vatican guarantee the safety of Lin Jin's parents. They also requested that the situation of Lin Zhan's parents be broadcasted live. If this request was not met, the Vatican would be an enemy of Huaxia. Moreover, the Martial Artists Union also requested that the Vatican guarantee the safety of Lin Zhan's parents. They also claimed that the Vatican's actions had broken the rules. They could not guarantee that things would not develop in a direction that was disadvantageous to the Vatican in the future. Faced with the pressure from Huaxia and the Martial Artists Union, although Yin Huang had captured Lin Jin's parents, he did not dare to do anything to them. He had to take good care of them. After all, they were in the wrong. Therefore, Yin Huang had to release a video of Lin Zhan's parents every day to appease the public's anger. However, he did not expect the tide of people quitting the Vatican this time. Originally, the matter of Lin Zhan's parents had gradually calmed down under his mediation. As long as he captured Lin Zhan, everything would be fine. However, he did not expect that there would be a mutant beast attack in Bingqing. Moreover, the 2 city walls that Lin Zhan had spent a lot of money to build were very useful. They saved Bingqing from the fall of the mutant beasts and made Lin Zhan's popularity in Huaxia unprecedentedly high. Now, the public's opinion in Huaxia was biased towards Lin Zhan. This guy had become a national hero again. His influence was almost comparable to Yin Qi's in Huaxia a few hundred years ago. Some stupid leaders of various countries had made a decision that made Yin Huang's blood vessels explode. They had actually tampered with the issue of assisting Huaxia. How could such a thing be tampered with? It was fine if they did it, but they had to do it cleanly. If they did not do it well, the god sect would be the scapegoat. However, Yin Huang had no way back. No matter what, he had to stick to this matter to the end. He firmly believed that as long as he killed Lin Zhan, there would still be room for negotiation. Slowly, the reputation of the god sect would gradually recover. How's the progress in the city of ancient gods? It's been almost 2 months. Is there still no news of Lin Zhan? In less than a month, I will announce the day of my wedding. In the end, before anything was set in stone, the planned bride has already betrayed the god sect. When the time comes, do you want me to get married to thin air? Yin Huang roared angrily. Your Majesty, there's news. Adam's team has sent back a message saying that they have found Lin Zhan's location and are approaching. Tell them to move faster. Otherwise, the followers of my god sect will run away. Chapter 3:13. The North Pole of the second floor of the city of ancient gods was close to the pole. South of the pole was a palace that looked like it was burning. Adams, a stars ranker from Europe and the United States, walked out. He was accompanied by 2 star realm experts. One of them was called Haddad, who had come in with him. The other was also from the European Union. His aura was similar to Adam's. Ha! We've finally found a way to deal with Lin Zhan. Only you, Arthur, would be able to create a space prison made of space stone. Luckily, we're old acquaintances. With this stone, our team will be able to make a great contribution, Adam said confidently. Arthur smiled and said, Go ahead, there are only 2 of these stones. The effect of this one isn't very good. but I'm still working on the other one, and you're in a hurry. If you wait for 2 days, then you'll have a better chance of completing the other one. Indeed, we can't wait. You don't know the situation outside. Sigh, let's not talk about it. I'm leaving first. This one should be enough. Hadad complimented, Master Adams, with Mr. Arthur's help, you will definitely become the head judge this time. When the time comes, you have to guide your subordinates well. Adams smiled and nodded. There's no need to say that, but we have to be careful. The situation outside isn't optimistic. I heard that the number of people in our sect is only a little more than half of what it was at its peak. The initial 1 billion believers are now less than 600 million. If we can't deal with Lin Jun, we'll be in big trouble. After speaking, Adams asked Hadad, Lin Jun didn't slip away, right? No, our people are watching. According to your instructions, a beginner war god that we found later is carrying a compass and following Lin Jun from afar. Because that person is weak, the color on Lin Jun's compass is very faint, especially at a distance. It is almost impossible for Lin Jun to discover you. To him, you're just a big black dot. I have already instructed them to keep watch within a range of 3,000 meters and wait for our orders. Since that's the case, we can take action now. 2 months have passed, and it's time for us to close the net. Otherwise, His Holiness' wedding ceremony will be a joke. Hadad nodded and immediately took out his walkie-talkie. How is it? How is Lin Jun doing? Lord Hadad, we are still monitoring Lin Jun. He is still within our surveillance range. We could take action against him at any time. All right, act according to the plan. Lure Lin Jun to the prepared ambush location. Sir Adams and I will be there in a moment. Adams and Hadad bade farewell to Arthur. They activated the frost aura of their frost aura suits and rushed towards Lin Jun despite the scorching heat of the North Pole. Lin Jun rushed out a cave on a small hill. He was holding a fiery red crystal in his hand. Wan was also following closely behind Lin Jun. Behind them, a heavily injured troll lizard chased after them. Lin Jun and Wan, one man and one beast, fought for nearly 10 minutes before they finally defeated this quasi-SS rank mutant beast. Phew, it's so hard to deal with. If it wasn't for Wan, I wouldn't have been able to defeat this quasi-SS grade mutant beast by myself. But the harvest is also very good. In 2 months, I've already collected 6 flame cores. I also obtained thousands of S-grade crystals and 400 quasi-SS grade crystals. This is the result of more than 60 days of hard work. Lin Jun was very satisfied after digging out the quasi-SS grade crystal. After being in the North Pole for so long, he was in a state of high tension every day. He had a feeling that the more crystals there were, the better. That was why he worked so hard to collect them. Now that he had obtained a quasi-SS grade crystal, his heart finally calmed down a little. Moreover, he had also cultivated the 5th tier of river flipping. His combat strength had increased by a large margin. According to my plan, I already have enough crystals. I can choose to break through now. At this moment, he looked at the compass in his hand and frowned slightly. There are people over there. On the compass, 3 or 4 light dots were swaying and slowly walking towards him. This color of light was no threat to Lin Jun at all. He thought for a moment and quietly followed them, wanting to see who these people were. Soon, he arrived at a place 100 meters away from them. Lin Jun quietly hid. There were 3 quasi-star realms and 1 warlord. They were talking as they walked. Where do you think this Lin Jun could have run to? We've been looking for him for 2 months, and there's still no news. Who knows? Lin Jun can escape into space. It's useless even if we find him. Let's just slowly search here. In any case, Lin Jun's parents have been captured. Also, I heard that Su Mingyue has already agreed to His Holiness the Pope's proposal. It seems that the wedding will be held soon. Is that so? When did this happen? They chatted and walked further and further away. Lin Jun could no longer hear them. Hearing these words, Lin Jun's heart suddenly turned cold. His parents had been captured. He didn't even know when this had happened. This was very likely true. After all, half the people in the world were believers of the church. His parents might not be safe hiding with Li Yao. This was Lin Jun's oversight. Also, they said that you had agreed to marry His Holiness. How is this possible? Lin Jun had never doubted Su Mingyue's feelings for him. However, these people's words were very convincing. Could it be that you had compromised to save her parents? Lin Jun decided to capture these people and ask them clearly. Without any hesitation, Lin Jun immediately followed them. When they saw Lin Jun appear, they didn't show any signs of panic. Instead, they sneered. Lin Jun was shocked. Not good. There's an ambush. Lin Jun's gaze turned cold. He knew that something had happened. Ha ha ha, Lin Jun. Today's doomsday has arrived. The two of them used their star power to teleport and appeared around Lin Jun with a whoosh. When the two of them stood there, Lin Jun knew that today's matter couldn't be settled peacefully. Adams was a star's ranker. He stood there with an incomparably powerful aura. There was also a Star Realm expert who seemed to be stronger than Liao. Lin Jun's current strength couldn't even deal with a star's ranker, let alone the other party had a helper. He first raised his hand and let Xiaonuan enter the Black Spectre. It was better not to let Xiaonuan participate in a battle of this level. Lin Jun, you've been hiding in the city of ancient gods and playing hide-and-seek with us. It's been 2 months. We finally found you. Don't be surprised. A compass isn't a treasure. You have it, so do we. Adams raised the compass in his hand and sneered at Lin Jun. Are you so sure that you can catch me? I'm not sure, but I can try. Lin Jun took out the 7-kill spear. Although he knew that he couldn't win, he still wanted to see how powerful a star's ranker was. You really won't give up until you see the coffin. Then I'll take care of you today. Adams pulled out his sword with a clang. Haddad also drew his sword. Lin Jun held the 7-kill spear in his hand. Then let's try. Adams slashed his sword over. With the support of his powerful astral powers, a 5-foot-long sword aura even appeared on his opponent's sword. The sword aura was sword chi. It was just that this sword chi was so strong that it was solid. With one slash, a crack appeared in the space. The powerful attack was earth-shattering, giving people a feeling that they couldn't resist. This was actually a saint artifact, long sword. However, Lin Jun wanted to try. At this moment, he wasn't willing to back down. The 7-kill spear danced in his hand and activated immovable mountain. After the gold chi was injected, the 7-kill spear also reached the level of a saint artifact. It clashed with the long sword. Wong, his arm went numb, and Lin Jun actually took a step back. The other party used a long sword against the spear and actually forced Lin Jun back. Without waiting for Lin Jun to recover, Haddad's attack followed closely behind. Lin Jun blocked Haddad's attack again, and Adam's attack followed closely behind. The two of them cooperated very well, and didn't give Lin Jun any chance to catch his breath. Every attack was aimed at the time when Lin Jun's strength was depleted and he had yet to recover. Lin Jun used immovable mountain to block hundreds of attacks. He only felt his arm aching. Adam's sword aura attacks were really too fierce. If this continued, he would be defeated very soon. Lin Jun didn't even dare to teleport. The other party was at the Star Realm, and they could teleport at any time. Moreover, if one of them used a mental attack to hold back Lin Jun for 1,000th of a second, the other person would be able to take Lin Jun's life. The only way was to hide in the folded space. However, Lin Jun wasn't willing to lose so pathetically. After blocking Adam's attacks with a movable mountain, he waited until Haddad's attack was right in front of him before launching a counterattack for the first time. When he opened his eyes, 2 balls of light flickered in his eyes. It was as if an incandescent lamp had suddenly lit up, dazzling the Star Realm expert. Oh no, he's going to counterattack. Save me. Lin Jun, you're courting death. Adams immediately launched an attack at Lin Jun, but Lin Jun didn't care at all. The 7-kill spear in his hand was already prepared, and he used the 5th level of the spear river, Tumbling River. The Star Realm expert, Haddad, felt a huge wave crashing down in front of him. He couldn't dodge in time, and half of his body was vaporized by the tumbling river. He died on the spot. Lin Jun also paid a price for this life-risking attack. Adam's sword slammed into Lin Jun's body. Fortunately, the Saint Tool armor blocked the attack and saved Lin Jun's life. However, Lin Jun still spat out a mouthful of blood from the attack. He activated his telekinesis, and the folded space opened. His body hid inside the folded space. Bastard, Lin Jun, you're using this move again. This time, I'm going to lock you in here for good. Adams took out a piece of space stone. This was something Arthur had given him. It could completely seal off a space. Lin Jun had disappeared here, so his actual location was actually within the range of this space. The space stone sealed off the area, and then used a secret technique to isolate space to move the space away. Chapter 3:14. The dark space stone flashed, and a round, transparent spherical space appeared, sealing this space. After the space was sealed, Adams immediately took out his walkie-talkie. "Brother Arthur, I've locked Lin Jun in a space with the space stone you gave me. What should I do next?" Arthur immediately replied, "This kind of space cage can't be broken without the support of powerful astral power. You don't have to worry about Lin Jun escaping. If you want to take that space away, the only way is for 4 astral realm experts to use their astral power to slowly move this space away. I'm perfecting the next space stone, so I can't help you for the time being. You have to think of a way yourself." "Okay, let me think about it." Adams ended the call. After thinking for a while, he called over a few astral realm quasi-experts who had been hiding far away since the beginning of the battle. They had been taking pictures of the battle. He told them to take more pictures and send them back to the Pope, so that the Pope could send people to help bring this space cage back to the Holy See. Lin Jun, who was in the folded space, could see Adams's actions and hear his voice. The space cage around him was really like a cage, locking him inside. Even if he went out now, he would still be trapped inside the cage. Lin Jun hadn't expected his opponent to have such a trick up his sleeve. Lin Jun had seen space cages made of space stone before. They wouldn't be rare in the galaxy in the future. There were 2 ways to break it. One was to break it directly with powerful strength. The other was to find a loophole in the cage and break it with space power. Lin Jun first scanned the space cage with his mind power. Wherever his mind power passed, the surroundings were distorted. This space was very strange. The space outside was encased in the space cage, and the space cage encased in the folded space Lin Jun was in. The space here was twisted and swaying. Fortunately, Lin Jun's mind power had reached the mid-diamond level. After scanning it several times, he found that this space cage wasn't invulnerable. Of course, he couldn't break it with his strength, even if he advanced to the astral realm, unless he could advance to the astral realm in one go. If he couldn't break it with brute force, then the only way was to use the power of space to break it. Lin Jun had absorbed the space star crystal, mastered teleportation, and even created the secret technique of folding space. He was quite knowledgeable about the power of space. These days, whenever I have free time, I'll study the power of space. I've been studying a kind of space slicing technique for a long time, but my strength is still somewhat lacking. If I can break through to the quasi-star realm, perhaps I will have a chance to break this space cage. Now that things have come to this, I have no other way out. If I don't have the strength of the star list, I won't be able to survive in the city of ancient gods. The only way is to advance to the quasi-star grade. It's just that I don't know if the crystals I have can meet the requirements for my advancement. You have to know that a little bit of power now will weaken my strength in the future. Lin Jun didn't care about the outside world at all. He just sat cross-legged in the folded space. First, he circulated his radiant energy to heal his injuries. Adam's attack just now wasn't weak. If he didn't heal properly, he would be in big trouble. Fortunately, Lin Jun had already resonated with the light particles. The healing speed was fast, and the results were good. After spending a total of 5 hours, Lin Jun was finally healed. After that, Lin Jun took out all the crystals he had and piled them in front of him. It's finally time for the quasi-star grade. The quasi-star grade is the transition from the peak of the 9th grade war god to the star grade. It is also the process of transforming the Dantian into a cyclone. Once the cyclone has completely condensed into a star nucleus, then I will be a star grade expert. Now, let's transform my Dantian into a cyclone. Placing a large pile of S-grade crystals in front of his abdomen, Lin Jun began to absorb the energy within the crystals. First time, 300 S-grade crystals. The Dantian Qi began to slowly rotate as the energy of the crystals poured in. Lin Jun had already reached the peak of the 9th grade. His Dantian Qi was basically saturated. After receiving the new energy, his Dantian Qi began to rotate. CCC. Rays of white light poured into Lin Jun's Dantian, causing his Dantian Qi to become stronger and stronger. Every single crystal was absorbed almost instantly and turned into waste. Not only was his Dantian rotating, the Dark Star was also rotating. Most of the Dantian Qi was poured into Lin Jun's Dark Star. Therefore, the growth of the Dantian Qi wasn't too fast. Just as I thought, the Dark Star is a huge energy devourer. Fortunately, I prepared enough crystals this time. Otherwise, advancing to the quasi-star grade would be a problem. 300 S-grade crystals were turned into waste in less than 20 minutes. However, the Dantian Qi still had a lot of room to absorb. Again, Lin Jun took out another 300 S-grade crystals and continued to let his Dantian Qi absorb them. This time, he persisted for another half an hour. The Dantian Qi in Lin Jun's body had almost doubled. The cyclone was getting bigger and bigger, like a rotating ocean. The Dark Star was getting brighter and brighter. The energy on it was surging, as if it could condense into a star nucleus at any time. Let's see how much energy you can absorb to advance to the quasi-star grade. For the third time, Lin Jun took out the remaining 400 S-grade crystals and continued to strengthen his Dantian Qi. However, this didn't satisfy the Dantian Qi's needs. Lin Jun's Dantian Qi continued to strengthen. The only difference was that if his Dantian Qi had been in the Bohai Sea before, then it was now in the Yellow Sea. For the fourth time, Lin Jun took out all the SS-grade crystals and let his Dantian Qi absorb them again. After this absorption, Lin Jun felt the Dantian Qi's absorption speed slow down. It should be reaching its limit, but it was still a little short. Sure enough, I still haven't absorbed enough crystals. Then there's only one way, and that's to absorb the dark energy stones. Lin Jun took out 50 dark energy stones and absorbed them again. Haha, good job, Adams. You did well. Pope Yin Huang beamed with joy when he received the report from his subordinate in the Vatican. At first, he didn't place his hopes on the hunters at all. Instead, he placed his hopes on his teacher, Larix. Not only did Larix take the boundary-piercing nail, but he also came back to take the cloak of concealment, saying that he would eliminate Lin Jun for him. However, before he could do anything, Adams had locked Lin Jun in the space cage. Now, all he had to do was to send people over to bring the space cage back to the Vatican. Then, he would guard it and wait for Lin Jun to show himself so that he could be captured alive. He had seen all the videos. Lin Jun was indeed locked up. Yin Huang stroked his chin and said, "How about this? Inform the hunters nearby to support Adams. As for these videos, let him post them on the internet." The Vatican immediately took action. Soon, shocking news appeared on the internet. Lin Jun was captured. Clear videos were posted online. Lin Jun's situation in the city of ancient gods was known to the whole world. Yin Huang even released a statement on this matter. Originally, he wanted to wait until Lin Jun was captured before releasing the news, but he couldn't wait any longer. The current situation was too severe for the Curia. The followers of the church were decreasing rapidly, and even some countries other than Huaxiao were losing followers. For example, the situation in the African Union and Brazil was not optimistic. Currently, only the European Union, America, Russia, and India were in a slightly better situation. However, they were still far from their peak. People were talking about how the church couldn't even defeat Lin Jun. There was no future for it, so he had to speak up. On TV and the internet, Yin Huang was beaming with joy as he said something with a smile. Followers of the Church of Ancient Gods all over the world, today I have exciting news to share with you. 4 hours ago, the blasphemer Lin Jun was captured by our warriors in the city of Ancient Gods. I believe everyone has seen the video. Actually, we all know that this is an inevitable outcome. It is undoubtedly foolish for a single person to attempt to fight against an organization that has half of the world's population. It is an act of overestimating one's capabilities. Originally, I wanted to let Lin Jun's parents come to our church as guests and persuade their son to turn over a new leaf. Everyone has seen that we have always been respectful to Lin Jun's parents and have never treated them badly. However, Lin Jun is still stubbornly walking on the path of fighting against the church. This kind of person who can even abandon his own parents is not worthy of sympathy. I hereby declare that Lin Jun is a heretic and a lawless blasphemer. He is not worthy of God's forgiveness. Our warriors have already set off and will bring Lin Jun back to Constantinople in a few hours. At that time, I will judge Lin Jun's crimes. For thousands of years, evil has never defeated justice. The power of light has always existed. I won't boast that I am justice, but I, Yin Huang Lucifer, have indeed inherited the holy light suit of the Church of Ancient Gods. This is the most powerful evidence of the existence of the true God. Everything Lin Jun said is untenable, so defeat is his only outcome. May the true God of the starry sky be with you, people of the Church of Ancient Gods. Yin Huang said. Then the seven-piece holy light suit fell from the sky, emitting thousands of white lights, and fell on his body one by one. A long sword, a shield, and a full set of armor covered his whole body. Yin Huang's appearance was like that of a god, appearing in front of the world in an extremely cool manner. This scene was screenshotted and publicized all over the world. Yin Huang was once again known as the son of the true God, walking in the world on behalf of God. Some people saw this scene and felt that God really existed, and some people chose to join the Church of Ancient Gods. The number of followers of the Church of Ancient Gods, which have been declining these days, finally stopped falling and showed signs of recovery. Chapter 3:15. Yin Huang's words once again caused a huge commotion in the world, especially when he said that Lin Jun could not be forgiven. It was obvious that the conflict between Lin Jun and the Vatican had reached a point where one side would die. It would definitely end with the defeat of one side. In Huaxia, many of Lin Jun's supporters were in an uproar. They wanted to kill their way to Constantinople to rescue Lin Jun, who was about to be captured. However, Yin Huang had issued a threat regarding this matter. The battle between him and Lin Jun was between them. If outsiders rashly got involved, then don't blame him for first getting rid of Lin Jun's parents who were unwilling to persuade their son to surrender in the name of true God. Yin Huang was very annoyed with Lin Jun's parents. He had captured these two people to threaten Lin Jun, but the news had not reached Lin Jun's ears. That brat had acted alone after entering the city of Ancient Gods. There was no internet in the city of Ancient Gods, so he could not receive news from the outside world. Until now, he still did not know that his parents had been captured. Sometimes, Yin Huang even thought of simply spreading the news to the whole world, saying when Lin Jun's parents would be executed. He believed that at that time, Lin Jun would definitely know. However, he did not dare to do so rashly. That would cause public anger. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would definitely not do so easily. This time, Lin Jun's supporters were actually clamoring to kill their way to the Vatican. He decisively issued a threat. If they wanted Lin Jun's parents to die, then they could come. This time, many Huaxia warriors were indeed afraid of taking action. They did not dare to act rashly. Moreover, Bingsheng was currently surrounded by mutated beasts. Most of the warriors were unable to split themselves. They really had no way to deal with the Pope's threat. Seeing that the Huaxia warriors were suppressed so easily, Yin Huang had a plan in his mind. Such a useful method should perhaps be used at an appropriate time. To him, it did not matter whether Lin Jun's parents were dead or alive. It was not important at all. However, these two were important hostages. If he captured Lin Jun this time, then his parents would be useless. If he did not succeed, then they would be of great use. People were like this. The first time he used Lin Jun's parents to threaten, Yin Huang would not hesitate to do it a second time. Lin Jun, you'd better obediently let my people capture you and obediently accept your death. Otherwise, don't blame me for not following the rules. Within the city of Ancient God, another team of hunters arrived at Adam's location. This team was ordered to support Adams, and another team was on their way. Apart from Alan's team, who had already run to the South Pole, there was only one team guarding the door. This captain was also an expert on the stars ranking. His name was Rost, and he was a war god from America. When he arrived in front of Adams, Rost couldn't help but feel jealous as he said, "Brother Adams, this time you're in the limelight. When I see you in the future, I'll have to call you the head referee." "Ha, Rost, don't say that. Even if I become the head referee, we are still brothers. This will not change." "Brother, if you say so, then I will first thank you. In the future, I hope head referee will guide me more." No problem. I wonder where Baggio's team went. When his team arrives, we can take this space cage away. It should be soon. At most, they will arrive in 2 hours. You also know that flying is not allowed on the second floor of the city of Ancient Gods. It is impossible to travel step by step too quickly. Adams nodded. Looking at the space cage in the air, his heart was burning. He had finally caught Lin Jun. This was a great thing. It was said that in order to catch Lin Jun, even the Pope's teacher, Larix, was mobilized. In the end, it was Adams who succeeded. There must be many people who were jealous of him. As long as he became the head referee, he would be second only to the Pope. Although the Pope and the Empress were above the head referee, Adams knew that the future Empress was Su Mingwe. She was a woman worthy of all the men in the world fighting over. Su Mingwe was gentle and pure. Even if she became the Empress, she would not care about power. On the other hand, Pope Yin Huang pursued the supreme martial Dao. Although he had supreme authority, he wouldn't bother with trivial matters at all. Even if he had the time, how stupid would it be to not enjoy such a great beauty like Su Mingwe and bother with these messy matters? Therefore, as the head referee, in a sense, he was the most powerful person in the Holy See. When he thought of this, Adams could not help but feel excited. It had been 8 hours since they had locked on a Lin Jun. Baho and Alan's team had not arrived yet. However, in this space cage, Lin Jun had finally appeared. Seeing Lin Jun's body appear here, Adams immediately stood up excitedly. "Lin Jun has appeared. He has appeared. He really is here. Hurry up and film this." Although Arthur had promised before, he still did not see Lin Jun appear. He could not help but feel nervous. Now, he was finally relieved. Someone was filming from the side. At this time, Baho's team had arrived. The reason why they had to wait for Baho's team to arrive was because teleporting the space cage required at least 4 Star Realm cultivators. Baho, Rost, and 2 other Star Realm cultivators now made up 4 people. As the number 1 contributor, Adams naturally wouldn't do such dirty and tiring work. After all, he was going to be the head judge. "Hurry, start moving. We must transport Lin Jun back to Constantinople." Baho and Rost did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. The 4 of them channeled their astral powers to balance the space cage and began to move to the first floor. Of course, the process was very slow. They moved forward slowly. Lin Jun was very glad that he had made sufficient preparations this time. Thousands of S-grade crystals and 400 quasi-SS crystals were all absorbed by his Dantian. In addition, his 150 dark energy stones were also used up in this unprecedented breakthrough. When the 150th dark energy stone was absorbed, his Dantian finally started to change. A ray of sunlight seemed to break through space and fell into Lin Jun's energy center. The chi in his energy center was like a rolling sea of clouds. The sunlight painted the sea of clouds with a layer of golden light. The sea of clouds was constantly rotating. The waves were rising and the clouds were extinguishing. This was the best description of Lin Jun's energy center. The wisps of chi in his energy center stopped expanding. Lin Jun used his spiritual force to observe, but he could not see the edge of the chi in his energy center. The power was like a raging torrent, swimming in Lin Jun's limbs and bones. That sunlight is a sign of astral power appearing. This rotating chi in my energy center is a sign that I'm about to condense a stellar core. I've been reborn here for more than 4 years. I'm now 21 years old. I've finally reached the quasi-star state. Now my energy center is at the quasi-star state. In fact, my dark star is also at the quasi-star state. It's just that they are operating in different spaces. Once my energy center condenses a stellar core, it will be my main star, and the dark star will be my auxiliary star. One day, I will definitely be able to condense two stellar cores, one main and one dark. Lin Jun silently felt the qi in his energy center roam throughout his body. He looked at the huge vortex in his energy center, which was 100 times bigger than it had been in his previous life. He looked at the ray of sunlight and felt that his energy center was about to form a world. In his previous life, he had also advanced to the quasi-star state and grasped astral power. If he compared the strength of his previous life to his current one, Lin Jun felt that his current quasi-star state strength was enough to completely crush the early-stage stellar core state strength of his previous life. The dark star floated above his energy center. Because it was still lacking the crystallization of the earth element, the dark star could not truly condense into a stellar core. It could only condense a boundless amount of energy into a ball and form the shape of a planet. His hand moved slightly, and a ball of energy flashed across his palm. Lin Jun saw that Adams and the others were doing their best to move this spatial cage, but he did not try to break it. This spatial cage was not that easy to break. Although Lin Jun had advanced to the quasi-star state, he still did not have much confidence in breaking it. Although this spatial cage had a weak point, Lin Jun knew that if he failed, it would definitely attract more experts from the divine sect. It would be fine if he did not make a move, but if he did, he had to break it. The only feasible way was to use a secret spatial technique. Lin Jun did not want to leave the city of ancient gods for the time being. Based on the speed of these people, it would take about 2 hours to leave the second level. He had to break this spatial cage within 2 hours. Because he had just broken through, Lin Jun's body was surging with energy. He was very eager to fight. After advancing, he really wanted to test the strength of a star list expert. However, because of this spatial cage, the people outside did not notice his situation. He did not alarm anyone either. Instead, he released his mind power, which landed on the spatial cage. The spatial technique is an extremely profound combat technique. It has a wide range of uses. Spatial power can be used to teleport and evade attacks. Even the wormholes in the galaxy are the embodiment of extremely powerful spatial power. If you enter from the other side of the wormhole, you can appear tens of thousands of light years away in an instant. Spatial slicing, spatial collapse, spatial storm, and so on can be used to kill in actual combat. I can't learn any profound spatial techniques for the time being, but I can try to use the spatial slicing. The so-called spatial slicing was the intersection of two spaces. The intersection of two spaces could create the sharpest blade in the world. That's right, it was a blade. The power of the intersection of two spaces could not be blocked by anything in the world. It could practically cut through everything. Lin Jun had been considering this possibility. His energy center was made up of two spaces. However, these two spaces were derived from Lin Jun's body, so he could not use the spatial slicing in his own body. Plus, the power of the main star and the dark star had been unbalanced previously, so it had been difficult to cultivate. Now that he had advanced to the quasi-star state, this difficulty did not exist anymore. He took a deep breath, and the power of the main star and the dark star, which had reached the quasi-star state, appeared at the same time. Chapter 316. L. Y. Dash. O. By. Gx equals W. Br. E. I greater than 2. Cutting is definitely not an easy thing to do. Lin Jun's research is based on some things in his previous life, combined with his own situation. Our space cutting, first of all, you have to master the power of two spaces and then instantly intertwine in another space. Our Lin Jun has two spaces, which is the power of the space stone. RHE slowly channeled his strength, letting the power of Dantian Qi and the dark star quietly release. I couldn't do this before because the power of Dantian Qi and the dark star was not balanced. The dark star is the star, and the Dantian Qi is the main star, which is the peak of the 9th level. It is too difficult to comprehend the unbalanced power. But now the main star and the dark star have reached the star, just to try. Are the two forces gradually merged and intertwined under the control of Lin Jun? Are the mixing of the forces rolling or break? Are Lin Jun's mind moved, and the two spaces instantly merged and separated? Or there was no fluctuation in his folded space? Failed. Our Lin Jun was not in a hurry. He knew the reasons for failure. First, it was slow. Second, he was not skilled. And third, the space cage was relatively stable, and it was not easy to cut it. Or the first failure, Lin Jun began the second try. He had planned the previous steps countless times. The space appeared, then merged, and then suddenly separated. The 2 points of force had to be concentrated in a thousandth of a second. A thousandth of a second is a watershed. Even in the battle of the star realm, less than a thousandth of a second is almost negligible. But more than this time, it is dangerous. As long as Lin Jun can complete the space intertwining in a thousandth of a second, in theory, he can do space cutting. After repeated attempts, Lin Jun had already met the basic requirements for advancement. It was very likely that he would succeed. Half an hour later, Lin Jun did it in 500ths of a second. An hour later, he did it in 900ths of a second. The four people below were still using their astral powers to move the space cage forward, one step at a time. Radams had brought a few Star Realm experts with him. Whenever a mutant beast appeared on the road, they were responsible for killing it. Gradually, the ground in front of them appeared black rocks. After this area of black rocks, they would reach the second level of the planet's central area. Once they reached the central area, they would soon reach the entrance to the first level. Lin Jun was oblivious to all of this. At this moment, he was completely immersed in the joy of cultivation. An hour and 20 minutes later, when he once again merged the two spatial powers and then instantly separated them, he clearly saw a black spatial crack appear and disappear in an instant just 30 centimeters in front of him. I did it. Lin Jun's eyes widened. The excitement in his heart was indescribable. The power of the quasi-star realm's main star and the power of the quasi-star realm's dark star had finally cut through space. He had finally mastered a super battle technique. Ri's eyes flashed like diamonds, making people's hearts palpitate. Radams, who had just casually killed a mutant fiery rat, happened to see Lin Jun open her eyes. Although he was a little afraid of Lin Jun's psychic power, Adams couldn't help but laugh. He couldn't help but mock Lin Jun. Ha ha ha! Lin Jun, oh Lin Jun, why aren't you arrogant anymore? What happened to the awe-inspiring attitude you had when you were talking big outside and shamelessly attacking our god's sect? If you ask me, you really don't know what's good for you. Our sect has just been established. How powerful is that? His Highness the Pope is the ruler of the world. How domineering. Someone like you dares to go against our sect? Tell me, if you don't die, who will? Our bot Xiao chimed in. That's right, Lin Jun. Why don't you take a look at your own strength? Although you are a genius, you are at most a peak 9th grade war god. Let's not talk about fighting against His Majesty the Pope. You won't even be a match for us stars rankers. Arast also laughed. They say that Chinese people know how to hide their strength, but why can't I see it in you, Lin Jun? Who can you blame for ending up like this? Lin Jun didn't say anything. He slowly closed his eyes again. He wanted to keep trying. The next step was a lot simpler. He just needed to use his psychic power to push the two spatial powers as far as possible. After all, a spatial cut 30 centimeters in front of him wasn't much help in a fight. The diameter of the spatial cage was about 5 meters. If he leaned back and used a spatial cut of 4 meters, it would be very useful in a fight. Seeing that Lin Jun didn't say anything, the people below became more complacent. Adams laughed. Lin Jun, since you're a genius, I, Adams, the future head inquisitor of the Holy See, will forgive you. If you have any last words, you can say them now. If it's something I can do, I'll do my best to help you. Hearing Adams's words, Baggio and Rost immediately began to flatter him. Did you hear that, Lin Jun? If you have any last words, just say it. You won't get another chance like this. That's right. The head inquisitor is being merciful. Do you know who the head inquisitor is? He's second only to the Pope. He'll be the second most powerful man in the world. Or that's not right. There's still the Queen. Or, haha, don't talk about the Queen. Su Mingwe is Lin Zhen's girlfriend. She's already in this cage, and you're still calling her his girlfriend? You're just rubbing salt on her wound. Arbaggio smiled at Adams. Head Inquisitor, the Pope has already married Su Mingwe. Don't you want to find a woman of that caliber to be your wife? After all, the head Inquisitor is also of high status. Our Adams smiled and waved his hand. I want to, but there's only one Su Mingwe. Where else can I find a woman of that caliber? Arast's eyes suddenly lit up. Ah, head Inquisitor, there really is one woman in the world who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Su Mingwe. But she's a bit hot-tempered. She's not as gentle and sweet as Su Mingwe. She's not someone who can be subdued by just any man. Or who is it? Adams's eyes suddenly lit up. Or what a coincidence. It's the other girlfriend of the man in the cage. She's the daughter of the world's #1 financial group, Ning. Ning's beauty is no less than Su Mingwe's. And she has the #1 financial group as her dowry. If she marries the head Inquisitor, wouldn't that be wonderful? Radams grew more and more excited. Now that you mention it, I remember. Ning is really pretty. She pretended to be crazy and stayed in the European Union for a few years. She's pretty strong, too. Besides, her family is so rich. If you marry her, you'll get both her and her wealth. Or haha, just thinking about it makes me think it'll work. When the time comes, His Majesty the Pope will marry Su Mingwe, and the head Inquisitor will marry Ning. It'll be a wonderful thing. But Lin Zhen will have a bit of a tragedy. Arbaggio looked at Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen, oh Lin Zhen, you're really unlucky. But let me give you a piece of advice. If you have any requests, you could tell the head Inquisitor now. Since you've given us 2 beauties, I'm sure the head Inquisitor will agree as long as it's not too outrageous. Or the few of them were drooling. They didn't expect Lin Zhen to answer, but at this time, Lin Zhen suddenly spoke. Or my request is for you to die. Can you agree to that? Or hearing Lin Zhen's words, Adam's expression changed. You shameless thing. I was in a good mood today and wanted to help you fulfill your last wishes, but you don't know what's good for you. Then there's no point in talking about it. Not only will I not agree to any of your requests, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Or Lin Zhen, Adam said darkly, and Ning will give birth to our child next year. Maybe then I'll go to your grave and tell you if it's a boy or a girl. I'll make sure you don't have a moment of peace in hell. Or Lin Zhen closed his eyes and stepped back. With a thought, a black spatial rift appeared 3 meters away. R.H.'d found the weakness of the spatial cage, and he'd mastered how to cut it. A few more times, and he'd be able to break free. Or by now, they'd reached the center of the planet. The exit to the first level was just ahead. Roan of the Quasi-Star Realms, who'd been scouting, came in from the exit. He ran up to them and said, Master Adams, I've already sent the video of Lin Zhen's capture to the outside world. The entrance to the city of ancient gods is now filled with media. Countless people are waiting to see Lin Zhen captured. The Pope has even personally led people to the entrance of the city of ancient gods. Radams laughed. His Majesty really values this. Go and report to His Majesty that we'll be leaving the second level soon. Once we reach the first level, we'll be able to fly. In less than 3 minutes, we'll definitely be able to leave the city of ancient gods. Please wait for our good news, Your Majesty. Or yes, then. Lord Inquisitor, I'll be on my way. Or this Quasi-Star Realm cultivator was really good at flattery. His words made Adam smile. He was about to become the Inquisitor, second only to the Pope. He couldn't hold back his excitement. Or brat, you only know how to pick the words I like to hear. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of benefits for you in the future. Now get out of here. Or the Quasi-Star Realm cultivator went back to report the news to the Pope. Adams and the others finally arrived at the entrance to the first level. Or phew, this journey slower than a snail is finally coming to an end. Once we're out of the second level, let's fly away. Or they were all excited. Alan's team had rushed to the South Pole and still hadn't returned. This time, they'd all done something. Radams looked back at Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen, are you ready to die? R.H.E. swallowed half of his words back into his stomach, because he saw that under Lin Jun's cold expression, a black spatial rift suddenly appeared at the edge of the void stone. Our crack actually appeared in this incomparably sturdy spatial rift, like a broken egg. Our crack. Rast the spiderweb-like cracks appeared. Suddenly the power of electricity burst out from Lin Jun's body, and the void stone shattered into pieces. The fragments were accompanied by elements, and the group was forced to retreat. R. Chapter 317. Z equals A, 6, J, N, BH, F, YK, ZEF. He's out. Or what are you panicking for? We have 3-star rankers and 2-star realm cultivators. Can't we take care of him? Radams and the others found it unbelievable, but they didn't take Lin Jun too seriously. Radams was a little regretful. If he'd known this would happen, he would have waited for Arthur's other space stone to be completed. But he couldn't let Lin Jun escape. He couldn't lose his position as the head judge. Go. Let's kill him together. Radams roared. The 5-star realm cultivators launched a surprise attack from all directions. Lin Jun cut open the space stone with a space cut. He immediately felt the taste of freedom. Ardentian chi surged all over his body. After breaking through, he felt like he had to vent it all out. He shook the 7-kill spear in his hand. You were so happy just now. Did you think this would happen? A ball of energy covered the spear as soon as he appeared. A beam of light shot out. Lin Jun grabbed the spear and swung it. Run like the previous energy beam. This time, Lin Jun's lightning strike was like a whip, lashing out fiercely in a circle. There were 13 people, including the 5-star realm cultivators. 8 of them were star realm cultivators, and they belonged to 3 different teams. None of the star realm cultivators went back to report. None of the 13 people dared to block Lin Jun's thunderbolt strike. The dazzling light was like a deadly blade. The 3-star rankers, including Adams, could feel the terror of this attack. This kid has broken through. Dodge. The 3-stars rankers immediately dodged the attack. One of the 2-star realm cultivators dodged the attack by rolling on the ground like a donkey, but the other didn't manage to dodge in time. Including this star realm cultivator. 9 of the 8 quasi-star realm cultivators who signed up were instantly vaporized by Lin Jun's lightning strike. Not to kill, but to vaporize. Lin Jun's arrogance soared to the heavens after his successful attack. He didn't stop at all. Brandishing the spear in his hand, he attacked the quasi-star realm cultivator who hadn't even had time to crawl to his feet with a flipping river. Stay here. The star realm cultivator screamed miserably as his entire body was lifted into the air. Countless spear lights flew around him, and streams of energy pierced through his body. Blood spurted out like a fountain in the air. By the time his body fell to the ground in pieces, he was already dead. Out of the 13 people, only 3 were left. The eyes of Adams, and the other 2 were red with envy. Rost, who was closest to Lin Jun, was the first to pounce on him. Lin Jun, don't be so arrogant. You may have advanced, but you're still no match for a star ranker. Lin Jun turned around and pointed at the charging Rost. Stop right there. Rost's lips curled into a sinister grin as he stabbed his sword at Lin Jun. Why should he stop? Now that Lin Jun had escaped from the cage, Adams had no chance of becoming the head judge. Whoever killed Lin Jun would be the head judge. If he stood still, wouldn't he be handing the initiative over to Adams and Baggio? Rost wasn't that stupid. He was going to fight for the position of head judge. Adams and Baggio could see what Rost was thinking. They had to fight for it too. Lin Jun was a piece of cake, and whoever got a bite of it would get it. Lin Jun pointed at Rost, his lips curling into a smile. He activated his telekinesis. Spatial cut. A black spatial rift appeared 5 centimeters in front of Rost's neck. Rost was too fast. Even if he saw the spatial rift, he didn't have time to react. His whole body was rushing towards it. The moment he passed through the spatial rift, his head and his body were no longer separated by the same space. If they were separated by space, there could only be one result. What Adams and Baggio saw was that Rost was still brandishing his sword as he stumbled forward a few steps. Ree's head was cut off by a crack in space, and then it fell to the ground. Ross's mouth was still open, and he was still howling. He didn't seem to think he was dead. Ree's body relied on the inertia to run in front of Lin Jun. Then his legs went soft, and he fell to the ground with a thud. R.A. Star Ranker dead. Rand, he didn't even know how he died. Radams and Baggio stopped in their tracks. They looked at the two halves of Ross's body on the ground, then looked at Lin Jun in horror. Are you? How did you do it? Or what do you think? Lin Jun laughed coldly. He shook the 7-kill spear, and thousands of cold rays of light poured down. Radam screamed, turned around, and ran away. Even though he was a Star's Ranker, Ross's death had shaken him to the core. He didn't want to be the next Star's Ranker to die in such a dubious manner. When Adams ran, Baggio, who had wanted to fight Lin Jun, shrank back. Lin Jun was too ferocious. He killed 8-star realm cultivators, 2-star realm cultivators, and 1-star ranker in a row. He was just a Star Ranker, so it was better for him not to throw his life away. The two of them turned around and walked towards the exit at the same time. Lin Jun couldn't let them go. He remembered what they said. People like them had to die. Lin Jun raised his hand and released Xiao Nuan to clean up the battlefield. He chased after the two. The entrance to the first level from the second level wasn't a wide path, and the 2-stars rankers squeezed through it at almost the same time. Because Adams had moved first, he was a little faster and blocked Baggio from behind by half a body's length. This delay was a life-threatening one. Lin Jun chased after him. He shook the spear in his hand and attacked with the flipping river. Ba Xiao let out a strange cry and swung his sword to block. But at this moment, he was in a sorry state and did not want to be entangled with Lin Jun. He was at a disadvantage. Lin Jun's violent attack lasted for 5 seconds. Suddenly, it slowed down. Baggio saw an opportunity. He turned and crawled into the entrance. Only his lower body went through. The strange spatial crack was waiting for him behind. It was waiting for him to walk right into it. The upper half of his body and an arm were left on the second level. The lower half of his body fell to the first level. Lin Jun grabbed Baggio's ring and jumped down to the first level. He wasn't going to let Adams go. When he reached the first level, he saw that Adams was already a few thousand meters away. He was still fleeing. Lin Jun sneered. The thunder wings appeared on his back. He'd been on the second level for 2 months. The wings had been nurtured to 4 times the speed of sound, more than 1,300 meters per second. After teleporting, he chased after Adams. *********RA sea of people had already gathered at the entrance to the city of ancient gods. Just a moment ago, a star-level cultivator came out with a new video. In the video, Adams and the others were using their astral powers to support the spatial cage. They were carrying Lin Jun out, and they were almost at the entrance to the first level. Ryan Huang stood in the center of the crowd, surrounded by a group of people. He smiled. At first, he was worried that Lin Jun wouldn't be transported out smoothly. Now that he saw the video, he was completely relieved. The Star Rankers stood in front of Yan Huang and reported, "Your Majesty, according to Adams, they'll be able to fly after leaving the second level. Once they reach the first level, they'll be able to reach the entrance in less than 3 minutes. Your Majesty, you'll be able to see Lin Jun immediately." Yan Huang smiled and nodded. "Very good. Adams did well this time. It looks like our head Inquisitor is about to appear. Haha. Congratulations, Your Majesty. You finally dealt with Lin Jun. Lin Jun is about to be executed. How satisfying. I've said it before, Lin Jun is nothing but a clown. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's jumping up and down all the time. As long as we use a little force, he won't be able to resist at all. Your Majesty, I congratulate you on unifying the Church of Ancient Gods. Your wedding is just around the corner. The glory of our church is just around the corner." Ryan Huang didn't show it on his face, but in his heart, he was very happy with the flattery. It's a pity that my starry sky crown is about to be completed, but Lin Jun, was captured so easily. I have one less opponent. The surrounding media continued to take pictures, and countless photos were posted on the internet. Some unscrupulous media reporters simply swayed with the wind. When they saw that the Church of Ancient Gods had captured Linjun, they immediately began to praise the Church of Ancient Gods. In addition to the Huaxia media, which still angrily denounced the Church of Ancient Gods for using numbers to bully Linjun, the media of other countries still praised the Church of Ancient Gods. After all, the Church of Ancient Gods still had its foundation. Although there were signs of decline, as long as Linjun was eliminated, it would certainly restore a lot of its reputation. The followers of the Church of Ancient Gods all over the world were even more excited. They spouted all kinds of nonsense on the internet, making the people who supported Linjun somewhat unable to raise their heads. In the midst of the cheers, a guard at the gate of the city of Ancient Gods said loudly, "I see Master Adams." He came out alone first. Ryan Huang frowned slightly. Adams was too eager to show off. Why didn't he bring Linjun with him? But at this moment, such a small matter couldn't spoil Yin Huang's good mood. He smiled and said to the people around him, Let's go, and welcome the return of the Inquisitor." A group of senior members of the Church of Ancient Gods walked forward, laughing. At this time, an elder of the Church of Ancient Gods from Russia, who was also a master on the stars list, suddenly rubbed his eyes and shouted, "Oh no! Linjun! 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 That Linjun!" Ryan Huang was a little impatient. "What's wrong with Linjun?" Your Majesty, Linjun seems to be on the stars list." What?" Ryan Huang panicked. He was also on the stars list, so he quickly opened it to check. The stars list was located in the Sea of Consciousness. Yin Huang was a master on the dark stars list, but he could also check the meteor list. When he opened the meteor list, Yin Huang was shocked to find that there were only 71 people left. This meant that 2 people had died and automatically dropped off the stars list. Ryan Huang was shocked. He immediately checked the list and found that the 2 people who had died were Rost and Baggio. Rost was at the bottom of the stars ranking, while Bajo was ranked 66th. Now, the 66th place was occupied by a name that made him gnash his teeth in hatred. Chapter 3:18. Everyone knew that Linjun's situation was being watched by the whole world. But no one would have thought that within the city of Ancient Gods, there was also someone who was watching Linjun's situation through the internet. This person was over 2 meters tall. His arms were so strong that they exceeded a woman's waist. His muscles were unbelievably bulging. His head was bald, and his eyes were blood red, just like a violent polar bear. In front of the control panel on the 4th floor, Xu Mingxian looked at the person in front of him with satisfaction. This was Holof's. Finally succeeded. Holof's transformation is finally complete. This feeling is really amazing. My telekinesis can freely switch between the 2 bodies. Xu Mingxian closed his eyes slightly, and Holof opened his eyes. His muscles slightly exerted force. The veins on his body were like terrifying earthworms. It was clear that this body contained a huge amount of power. There is no more Holof in this world. This body is also Xu Mingxian's. As expected of a natural-born godly strength king, this kind of power is really shocking. And after my transformation, his speed is no longer a disadvantage. His realm has also broken through to the late stage of Star Core. But this body is a natural fighting machine. Although it is only at the late stage of Star Core, in a real battle, it can easily crush an ordinary Lu Zhou. Xu Mingxian controlled Holof's body to walk around in front of the control panel, trying to familiarize himself with the body. Originally, according to his plan, he wanted to leave the city of Ancient Gods and go to the outside world to live a carefree life. But after staying here for almost 1,000 years, he felt that his body was going to rot. The outside world of Huahua, wine, food, women, all of them attracted him. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly saw Lin Zhun's situation through the control panel's internet connection. "This kid, isn't this the first time I try to control him with brain bugs? He is still alive and seems to be living quite well. Forget about him. I still want to leave this place. If I stay any longer, I will go crazy." But before he could leave, a strong feeling of hatred suddenly appeared in his mind. This is Holof's idea. Shu Mingxuan's pupils instantly dilated, and he forcefully hugged his head. This is impossible. This person actually has such a strong hatred. He is clearly already dead, but I can still feel his hatred. He hates Lin Jun for destroying everything. He wants revenge. Holof's body and eyes were getting redder and redder, and his muscles were trembling. What a damned fellow. He's clearly dead, yet he can still do such a thing. Yet, I can't stop him. If I forcefully leave with this hatred, I'm afraid I won't be able to have fun outside. I just talked to Xino and Tuya yesterday. They will arrive on Earth in 2 months, and the Empire's expeditionary army is also preparing to depart. They will arrive in about 3 years. My happy days are numbered. When the Empire's army arrives, everything on Earth will collapse. No one can compete with the Empire's army. Even Xino and Tuya are enough to sweep away the experts on Earth. At that time, I won't be able to do as I please. So if I want to have fun, then I must first kill Lin Jun. Although Xino was very reluctant, he still straightened his body and decided to fulfill Holof's last wish. Once he dealt with Lin Jun, Holof would most likely be completely wiped out. He came to his captain's room. There was a secret passage here that allowed him to go to any floor without having to take the same path as others. When Holof first came in, he came in through this secret passage. First floor, go now and arrive in 3 minutes. Lin Jun, cherish the last 3 minutes of your life. Asterisk, 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 seeing Lin Jun on the list, Yin Huang's heart thumped. Quick, check if there is anyone chasing behind Elder Adams. Yin Huang shouted. Adams had already run to the exit of the city of ancient gods. Less than a kilometer away from the exit, Adams was entangled by Lin Jun. Lin Jun flapped a pair of huge wings behind him. The light on them was very eye-catching. He was fast as lightning and entangled Adams like a ghost. Adams tried his best to escape, but Lin Jun was faster than him. He was entangled and couldn't escape. Seeing that there was someone at the entrance of the city of ancient gods, Adams took a shot from Lin Jun, hoping to escape. But he didn't expect that, just as he was about to escape, Shaon Wan appeared out of nowhere and pulled him down. Half of his leg was bitten off. After that, Lin Jun threw out a flipping river. Amidst the stormy waves, Adams fell to the ground and died. There were many people who saw this scene. Even if they couldn't see it directly, they could watch the live broadcast through the people at the entrance. This scene shocked everyone speechless. Why did Lin Jun, who was just captured and about to be executed, come out? Moreover, he was still chasing after Adams. Did that mean that the others had been killed by him? Yin Huang felt a rush of blood from his chest to his head. If Lin Jun was in front of him, he might have bitten him. The surrounding discussions were very ear-piercing. Oh my God, this Lin Jun is too strong. He can actually fight Adams head-on. The fates of the others are obvious. This god sect really can't do anything to Lin Jun. If they can't catch Lin Jun this time, I'm afraid they won't have another chance in the future. What kind of trash god sect is this? I'll never join it. I suddenly think that Lin Jun will overthrow the god sect one day. Don't you guys have the same feeling? You don't say. I have the same feeling too. Yin Huang knew that he couldn't watch the situation develop any further. Lin Jun had killed 3 star rankers in a row and was now ranked 51st. The star rankers weren't cabbages. There were 18 on the heavenly star rankers, 36 on the dark star rankers, and 72 on the meteor rankers. There were only 126 of them in the world. Lin Jun had killed 3 of them so easily. The Vatican couldn't afford to lose anymore. That idiot Larix took my realm-breaking nail and divine concealment cloak, and he hasn't done anything yet. I don't even know where he went. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to do it myself. Yin Huang cursed his teacher, but now he was going to do it himself. Just as the people were chattering, Yin Huang suddenly walked towards the city of ancient gods. Your Majesty, where are you going? Your Majesty, don't go. It's dangerous there. Lin Jun hasn't left yet. Many of the god sect's followers tried to persuade him, but Yin Huang ignored them. Get out of my way. If Lin Jun isn't eliminated, the god sect will never have peace. I've run out of patience. There should be a conclusion to this matter. Yin Huang was angry. and no one dared to stop him. Someone hurriedly ran to the martial arts union's guard at the entrance and paid a fee of 100 million. This was the rule. Anyone who entered the city of ancient gods had to pay the fee. Yin Huang's steps didn't seem big, but he was very fast. In just a few steps, he was already a few hundred meters into the city of ancient gods. Lin Jun finished off Adams with a single move, overturning the river. After collecting the ring, he saw a dazzling golden list in his spiritual sea. It was the meteor ranker. Lin Jun had never seen the meteor ranker in his previous life. It was a long golden list with a total of 72 people on it, but there was no one on the 70th and 71st place. Lin Jun had killed 3 star rankers. Even if he entered the list, there would be 2 empty spots. But this situation wouldn't last for long. If someone challenged the star ranker again, the winner would enter the list. If there were still empty spots on the star ranker, the loser would automatically occupy the empty spots. After all, not all battles were life and death battles. Sparring battles were also common. I've finally entered the star ranker. After advancing to the quasi-star realm and learning the space slicer, my strength is now comparable to an ordinary meteor ranker expert. Now I have the qualifications to enter the 3rd level of the city of ancient gods. I have a blazing core now. As long as I reach the 3rd level and obtain an Earth elemental planet core, my dark star will be able to condense a star core. After glancing at the crowd at the entrance, Lin Jun prepared to return to the 2nd level. But he saw a person walking over at a seemingly slow but actually very fast speed. Yin Huang. Lin Jun was stunned for a moment. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. Was the Pope of the Vatican finally going to make a move? Lin Jun first scanned the meteor ranker, but he didn't find Yin Huang's name. As the Holy Sun and the Pope, it was impossible for Yin Huang not to be a star ranker expert. Moreover, Lin Jun could sense that he had already reached the flux stage. This meant that Yin Huang was an expert on the dark star ranker. If it were an ordinary person, they wouldn't fight Yin Huang here. The chances of winning were too small, but Lin Jun was different. Lin Jun couldn't retreat just because his opponent was strong. He really wanted to know how strong Yin Huang was. He stood there without moving and let Xiao Wan go to the 2nd level first. He held the 7-kill spear in his hand and waited for Yin Huang's arrival. Yin Huang walked in front of Lin Jun in a few steps. His face seemed to be covered in frost as he stared at Lin Jun. Lin Jun, you really have guts. You actually didn't run when you saw me coming. Lin Jun smiled. Yin Huang, you're even more gutsy. You actually dared to come over when you saw me here. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you think that you have the ability to challenge me just because you've advanced to the quasi-star realm and are ranked lower on the meteor ranker? You're too naive. Yin Huang stretched out his hand, and a shining golden sword appeared in his hand. It was the sword of the Holy Light set. Seeing Yin Huang draw his sword, Lin Jun didn't say anything. Instead, he held the 7-kill spear horizontally and flapped his thunder wings lightly. Although they didn't speak, their fighting spirit had already surged. Even the people watching the live broadcast couldn't help but hold their breaths at this moment. They felt a heavy pressure on their faces. No one had expected things to develop to this point. Lin Jun and Yin Huang actually fought each other directly. Many people also saw this battle as the ultimate showdown between the Holy See and Lin Jun. If Yin Huang won, there was no doubt that Lin Jun would die. The Holy See would definitely not leave such a threat in the world, and this conflict would end. If Lin Jun won, even if Yin Huang didn't die, the Holy See would definitely decline further. It was very likely that it would fall and be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 319. At the entrance of the city of ancient gods, people held their breaths as they watched the duel between Lin Jun and Yin Huang. Countless people couldn't squeeze through. After all, the entrance was too small, so they could only watch the live broadcast on the internet. If the ratings were calculated, more than 90% of the world's population was watching the live broadcast at this time. In every base city, in every corner, in every home, people were staring at the screen. No matter what they were doing or what they were doing, they couldn't help but put down what they were doing. The drivers on the road parked their cars on the side of the road to watch the live broadcast. There weren't any cars on the road. The women at home were cooking, but they put down their spatulas. They weren't in the mood to look at the dishes, even if they were burnt. Many bed activities had even stopped. At this time, no one was in the mood to do those things. In the streets and alleys, the big screens left behind by the God of War arena were activated again. More than 1 billion pairs of eyes were staring at the two of them. No one took the initiative to say anything. The world was silent at this moment. Lin Jun gripped the shaft of the 7-kill spear with both hands with a serious expression. Without a doubt, this would be the most difficult battle he had ever experienced. As a quasi-star realm cultivator, he was going against Yin Huang, who was at the peak of the mid-star meteor realm. Lin Jun could challenge people of a higher level, and he had always done so. With his current strength, he wouldn't be afraid even if he encountered an ordinary expert on the star list. However, Yin Huang was different. Yin Huang was definitely an expert who could challenge people of a higher level. For example, there were ordinary and elite gods of war among gods of war. Yin Huang was definitely an elite among Star Realm warriors, an elite among elites. However, Lin Jun still wanted to fight. The whole world was watching. He couldn't back down now. No matter what the result was, Lin Jun dared to try. If the Vatican was the sky, he would poke a hole in it. Yin Huang waved the sword in his hand gently. Lin Jun, this sword is part of the Holy Light set. Do you know what the Holy Light set is? Lin Jun smiled. It's just an inanimate object. Wrong. Before you die, let me tell you something. There are 7 pieces of the Holy Light set. Apart from the sword and shield, the other 5 pieces are all armor. However, in battle, I only use this sword. Do you know why? Because you're a pig. Yin Huang's eyes flashed with anger. Don't be so shameless. That's because no one is worthy enough for me to use a shield, and no one is worthy enough for me to wear armor. Lin Jun, you're the same. My sword is enough to take your life. You can't do it. You have to take out your shield. Lin Jun shook his head slightly. Yin Huang sneered disdainfully and didn't say anything more. He drew his sword and made a fighting stance. Lin Jun clenched his 7 kills spear tightly. He knew that Yin Huang was about to make a move. In the sky above the first level, a pterosaur flew over their heads. When it saw the two prey on the ground, it let out a strange cry and swooped down from the sky. This strange cry was like a starting gun at the starting line. GA. The next moment, the two of them moved at the same time. Yin Huang rushed forward fiercely, his body leaving behind a string of afterimages. The wind whistled around him, and the power of light bloomed. The distance of tens of meters was covered in 1/100th of a second. The long sword in his hand brought about a dazzling white light as it whistled through the air. Lin Jun took a step back and lowered his waist into a horse stance. He waved his 7-kill spear left and right, instantly setting up layers of light screens in front of him. Defensive counterattack, immovable as a mountain. Lin Jun, die. Yin Huang's sword fell, and the power of light burst out from his body. It was like a red sun hanging in the sky. The sword light shot down. Lin Jun had used the power of light many times to dazzle people, but it was obvious that Yin Huang's power of light was stronger. This person had already resonated with the light atoms. Lin Jun closed his eyes slightly. He was a diamond-level telekinesis master and had strong spiritual power. He didn't need to use his eyes to sense everything around him. Wong. After a roar, the field exploded with light that shot into the sky. A series of dense clashing sounds were heard. Chapter 320. Lin Jun's thunderlight wings were too fast. Yin Huang didn't even have much time to react before he felt the sharpness of the 7-kill spear. Although he didn't believe that Lin Jun would really dare to die with him, he didn't dare to take the risk. He was the Pope of the Vatican, the person with the highest status in the world. He wouldn't change his position even if he was offered the position of head of state. Endless power and wealth were waiting for him. How could he die with a brainless brat like Lin Jun? Helpless, he took out the shield of the Holy Light set. The Holy Shield appeared and blocked in front of him. The two of them slammed into the 7-kill spear. Crack! The Astral Tool spear couldn't withstand such a violent impact from the holy weapon and broke. However, Yin Huang also suffered a huge impact. His chest felt stuffy. On the other hand, Lin Jun was behind Yin Huang. With him as a meat cushion, the impact wasn't as strong. Their bodies shook. Yin Huang's anger rushed to the top of his head. The astral energy in his body burst out. The powerful strength of a mid-stage meteor star warrior was instantly displayed. He broke free from Lin Jun's restraint. Get lost. The huge holy shield in his hand smashed towards Lin Jun. Lin Jun was scraped by the shield and lost his balance. But when he fell, he suddenly swung out a leg, aiming straight for Yin Huang's face. Yin Huang didn't expect Lin Jun's body to be so flexible. In addition, when he hit the shield just now, his blood and qi churning in his chest slowed down a little. He only felt his vision go black. Bang! After being kicked by Lin Jun, Yin Huang also fell. However, he was a super expert after all. When he fell, he could still stab with his sword and hit Lin Jun's thigh. When the sword pierced him, he felt a sharp pain in his ankle. Lin Jun had transformed the liquid metal into a spear and pierced through his ankle. The two of them fell to the ground and rolled back almost at the same time. They didn't give each other a chance to attack. Everyone watched the battle with their mouths wide open. No one would have thought that Lin Jun would be able to force Yin Huang to this extent. This was especially true for the experts who had some understanding of the battle prowess of the Star Realm. Of course, they knew that there was a huge gap between a mid-stage Meteor Realm cultivator and a quasi-Star Realm cultivator. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. Although Lin Jun didn't seem to have won, he had actually won. Especially the moment Yin Huang took out his shield, Lin Jun had won. Yin Huang had boasted that he could defeat Lin Jun with a single sword, but in the end, he had failed to do so. Rays of light flickered on Yin Huang's ankle, healing his injuries. He was as proficient in the power of light as Lin Jun, so healing his injuries was very easy. With a shield in his left hand and a sword in his right hand, Yin Huang's face was purple and his eyes were about to spit fire. Lin Jun, I really didn't expect you to be able to reach this level. There are many unexpected things. There will be even bigger surprises waiting for you in the future. Yin Huang roared angrily. He didn't care that his ankle was still bleeding and rushed over while sticking close to the ground, slashing out with his sword. Lin Jun didn't have the chance to get up, but he still had one last move. Spatial cut. A black spatial crack suddenly appeared in front of Yin Huang's eyes. It had appeared so abruptly. At this moment, Yin Huang felt his scalp go numb. At the moment of life and death, he resolutely threw away the shield and sword in his hands. He fiercely retracted his arms, narrowly dodging the spatial cut. After dodging the attack, Lin Jun suddenly appeared in front of him. With a wave of his hand, an energy ball made of lightning, ice, and fire fiercely shot out. Yin Huang, take this. Yin Huang couldn't control his body's momentum. He could only use a single hand to release a ball of light energy, which collided with Lin Jun's elemental energy. Yin Huang's light energy had already resonated with the atoms. However, Lin Jun's elemental energy was superior in terms of quantity. With so many elemental energies gathered together, it was a tie with Yin Huang's light atoms. The two energy balls collided, and an energy pillar as thick as 10 meters shot up into the sky, piercing through the clouds. It was so bright that the surrounding people couldn't open their eyes. The two of them crossed each other. Yin Huang's speed was still faster. Under such circumstances, he was still able to use one hand to fiercely strangle Lin Jun's neck. A huge force contracted, and his eyes turned red. He wanted to strangle Lin Jun to death. Lin Jun gritted his teeth. The liquid metal at his waist turned into a long rope and instantly wrapped around Yin Huang's neck. He fiercely pulled forward. The two of them fell down pathetically and relied on each other to support themselves. Yin Huang held onto Lin Jun from behind, while Lin Jun pulled on a liquid metal rope from the front. At the same time, he also held onto Yin Huang. Creak, creak, creak. The sound of bones was a little ear-piercing, and the people watching from afar were all dumbfounded. If the first time the two of them almost died together, it was Lin Jun's trick, then what about this time? Lin Jun was actually on par with Yin Huang. Were they trying to strangle each other to death? Lin Jun's strength shocked the people in the divine sect. They were all silently praying that Yin Huang could win. This was a battle they couldn't afford to lose. Everyone, including the people watching on the internet, was cheering for their respective supporters. According to later statistics, the number of supporters on both sides had reached a balance at this moment. Lin Jun's actions had already had a huge impact on the world, and it slowly began to ferment and grow. Both of them were telekinesis masters with mid-diamond level mind power. At this moment of life and death, they couldn't control their mind power from overflowing. Although they didn't have the ability to drive flying knives, their long hair fluttered and tangled with each other's hair. They were doing everything they could to tie each other down. Lin Jun only felt waves of suffocation. In this situation, his energy center exploded, his mind power exploded, and his physical strength exploded. He couldn't even breathe internally. The ability of a martial artist reverted to the most basic state of a human, relying on the mouth, nose, and lungs to breathe. His head was dizzy and heavy. The only thing he could do was to tighten his grip on the liquid metal. If he wanted to live, he had to strangle his opponent to death before he died. Although Lin Jun didn't want to die, he dared to fight Yin Huang. Yin Huang's situation was the same as Lin Jun's. The long rope made of liquid metal almost broke his neck. He believed that he could strangle Lin Jun to death, but the strength of the liquid metal wasn't small either. It was more likely that the two of them wouldn't let go even if they died, and in the end, they would both die in the wasteland of the city of ancient gods. At this moment, Yin Huang's heart was filled with regret. He regretted his carelessness. If he had used the full holy light set at the beginning, if he had pushed the power of light to the limit, if he had used all his trump cards at the beginning, the result might have been different. He really shouldn't have taken a risk. The best choice would have been to refine the Starry Sky crown and deal with Lin Jun later. He was the Pope of the Vatican. How could he die in the hands of Lin Jun, a brat who hadn't even reached the Star Realm? He couldn't accept it. However, it was too late now. He felt that he was going to die. The only thing he could do was tighten his grip as much as possible and strangle Lin Jun. Save His Majesty quickly. Someone from the Vatican shouted. A group of experts from the Vatican tried to rush into the city of ancient gods. However, a golden-robed elder suddenly blocked their way. No one is allowed to interfere with the battle between Lin Jun and Yin Huang. This is their business. You, Elder Gong Sun Du, when did you come? Elder Gong Sun Du, have you forgotten that you're from the Vatican? Why are you helping Lin Jun? Traitor, you're betraying the Vatican. Have you thought it through? Gong Sun Du stood in front of the crowd. Yes, I'm an elder of the Vatican, but at the same time, I'm also a Chinese. If I didn't have the identity of an elder of the Vatican, I would have rushed over to Yin Huang and killed him completely. I'm not helping Lin Jun. I'm not helping either side. One of the elders tried to rush forward, but Gong Sun Du waved his sleeve and sent him flying with a single blow. Gong Sun Du was also an elder, but he was a meteor stage expert on the Dark Star list. He was definitely not someone that ordinary elders could match. It could be said that Gong Sun Du was the most powerful among the 30 golden-robed elders of the Vatican. Those elders looked at each other, but no one dared to take a step forward. There were not only people from the Vatican, but also warriors from Huaxia. Many of them supported Lin Jun. Seeing Gong Sun Du blocking the people from the Vatican, they immediately wanted to rush over to help Lin Jun. Gong Sun Du narrowed his eyes and waved his sleeve. A beam of astral power blasted out and sent those warriors flying. Mr. Gong Sun, why? No reason. I'm not just a Chinese. I'm an elder of the Vatican. I told you that this is a battle between Yin Huang and Lin Jun. No one else is allowed to interfere. But Holy Virgin Su is your disciple. Lin Jun and Holy Virgin Su, stop talking. Su Mingwei has betrayed the Vatican. She's not my disciple from now on. At the same time, Gong Sun Du also stopped a few people from Huaxia who wanted to go over to help Lin Jun. He knew that if he dared to let the people from Huaxia go, the people from the Vatican would definitely go crazy. There were more people from the Vatican there, so Huaxia would not be able to take advantage of the situation. So, the only thing he could do was to help Lin Jun in a seemingly fair way. He hoped that Lin Jun would be able to survive this crisis. The veins on their arms and foreheads bulged at the same time. Their eyes were bloodshot and their faces were red. At the moment, there was nothing else that could be done. It all depended on who was stronger and whose willpower was stronger. However, no matter how one looked at it, it seemed that both sides would suffer. Yin Huang opened his mouth and couldn't help but stick out his tongue. He seemed to want to say something. He wanted to negotiate with Lin Jun to let go, but he didn't have the ability to speak at all. In his opinion, Lin Jun should be thinking the same thing as him at this moment. However, it was impossible for them to back down now. Is it over? I don't want to. Yin Huang's mind began to wander. Chapter 3:21. No one expected the battle between Lin Jun and Yin Huang to be this intense. They wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. But no one could interfere. The outcome was already decided. Lin Jun was in a daze when he saw the compass in his hand. On the compass, a big red that was approaching at high speed. Seeing this scene, Lin Jun's spirit was lifted for a moment. Extreme danger. Yin Huang was just a big black dot on the compass. He wasn't red yet. Once he became a red dot, it meant that he couldn't fight back. Yin Huang, who was standing behind Lin Jun, also saw it. His eyes widened instantly. Who was it? The two of them wanted to stop the battle at the same time. If they continued to fight, it would be a joke if they were the third party that benefited. Before they could make a move, they saw a figure shoot out from behind a hill on the opposite side. The moment the person landed, he shot out more than 1,000 meters, heading straight for the two of them. He was muscular and only wore a pair of leather pants. He held a huge hammer in his hand. His eyes were blood red, and he didn't look like a human. Halaf. The two of them were stunned. They didn't expect to see Halaf, who had disappeared after the War God Arena. Looking at Halaf's expression, it seemed different from before. Gagaga. Two human natives are actually fighting to the death here. Since both of you are going to die, then die in my hands. Halaf wanted to kill Lin Jun more than anyone else. He couldn't accept Lin Jun dying in someone else's hands. He shot out and appeared in front of the two of them. He raised his hammer and swung it down. Astral power condensed, and space was torn apart. The two of them were instantly in danger. Lin Jun and Yin Huang let go at the same time. Teleport. Yin Huang had teleported, and so had Lin Jun. His target was actually the same as Yin Huang. Yin Huang appeared 100 meters away. Lin Jun was also beside him. Halaf shot out like a cannonball. Gaga. Although this body of mine doesn't have any mental power, my powerful physical strength is enough to catch up with your teleportation. You can't escape. Yin Huang was infuriated. Lin Jun, this brat, was too mean. Seeing that the opponent was coming at him with ferocious momentum, he actually wanted to drag him into this no matter what. He didn't want to fight this kind of battle, especially with Halaf's obvious increase in strength. He wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. However, Lin Jun would definitely not give Yin Huang this opportunity. Right now, Halaf was no longer Halaf, but a puppet controlled by an extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Jun was definitely not a match for him. His only chance was to use Yin Huang to tie down his opponent while he took the opportunity to escape. At this point in the battle, Lin Jun had already proven his strength. In the future, there would still be opportunities for him to fight Yin Huang. Today was no longer a suitable day for him to continue fighting. Yin Huang's continuous teleportation couldn't shake off Lin Jun. After all, teleportation also had star power waves. For a teleportation veteran like Lin Jun, he could completely determine the direction and distance of the opponent's teleportation based on the star power waves. He stuck close to Yin Huang like a sticky candy. Yin Huang didn't even have time to attack Lin Jun. This was because with Halaf's insane physical fitness, he could accurately chase after the two of them every time. Moreover, the time difference was getting shorter and shorter. They didn't even have the chance to teleport anymore. Yin Huang helplessly roared. He suddenly raised his hand, and the holy light sword and shield in the distance once again fell into his hand. I am the church's leader, Yin Huang Lucifer. Halaf, you dare to attack me? You're just a native leader. Sooner or later, you'll be ruled by us. What's there to be proud of? Halaf laughed strangely and appeared in front of the two of them. Lin Jun used the lightning wings to hide behind Yin Huang. Holliff directly jumped over Yin Huang's head to attack Lin Jun. This touched Yin Huang's reverse scale. He was the Pope. How could he endure the humiliation of being under someone else's crotch? He was already extremely sullen when he fought Lin Jun to a draw. This was because he still had many tricks up his sleeve. But now, Holliff wanted to do this to him. He absolutely couldn't accept it. Get out of my way. Yin Huang jumped up and slashed down with the holy light sword in his hand. You're the one getting out of my way. You're my way. Holliff didn't want to kill Yin Huang because he could see that Yin Huang wasn't easy to kill. Instead, it was Lin Jun who was easier to kill. He waved his war hammer and swung it fiercely. Clang! After a thunderous explosion, Yin Huang's body was sent flying back 100 meters in the air by Holliff. Lin Jun still didn't give up. With a flap of his lightning wings, he arrived beside Yin Huang. Then, Holliff immediately chased after him like a ghost. Yin Huang wanted to vomit blood. He didn't expect Holliff to be so strong. Although he didn't want to fight in front of countless Vatican believers, in front of the world's audience, he couldn't admit defeat. A white light descended from the sky. 5 holy armor pieces fell on Yin Huang's body. This was the first time Lin Jun saw a Yin Huang wearing a full set of holy armor. Bright white light shone on the armor. At this moment, Lin Jun discovered that the quality of the armor set seemed to have increased. There's indeed something special about it. After this armor set was infused with the power of the light atoms, it actually increased in quality and became a mid-grade holy armor set. If Yin Huang had worn this armor when he fought with me just now, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to last more than a few moves. Yin Huang put on the holy armor set and said to Lin Jun beside him, Lin Jun, do you dare to work together to get rid of this Russian first? Then you and I can fight it out. From Yin Huang's point of view, Lin Jun had almost died with him twice just now. He must hate him to the bone and definitely wanted to fight to the death with him. As expected, Lin Jun nodded. The liquid metal in his hand turned into a long spear. It seemed like he was going to fight alongside Yin Huang. Holliff roared and appeared in front of Yin Huang. Yin Huang waved his long sword to meet him. Lin Jun circled around from the side, as if he wanted to attack Holliff's retreat. Wearing the holy armor set, Yin Huang's strength had increased tremendously. His body overflowed with astral power. When facing Holliff head-on, he wasn't easily pushed back. However, just as he exchanged blows with Holliff, he saw Lin Jun flap his lightning wings and rush towards the entrance of the second floor. D*MNU. Yin Huang roared angrily. He wanted to grab Lin Jun and eat him alive. Holliff also roared and abandoned Yin Huang to chase after Lin Jun. The two of them chased after Lin Jun almost at the same time. In an instant, they disappeared from everyone's sight. The onlookers looked at each other. They didn't know what was going on. Chasing after Lin Jun wasn't an easy task. Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and arrived at the entrance of the second floor in less than 30 seconds. Although Yin Huang and Holliff were fast, they were still slower than Lin Jun. Seeing Lin Jun enter the second floor, they followed one after the other. They could only see Lin Jun's figure heading towards the South Pole. The two of them didn't attack each other. They followed Lin Jun closely to the south. However, it was only after they left that they realized how difficult it was to travel south. The middle area of the second floor was still red and green. As they went south, the temperature got lower and lower. First, they came to a wasteland full of ice and frost. Gradually, they couldn't see any green plants. Looking at the snowy land ahead, Holliff stopped in his tracks. No, I remember this second floor very clearly. The South Pole is minus 100 degrees. Without fire-resistant equipment and a flame heart, it is impossible to pass. Although this body is strong, it is still made of flesh and blood. If I go to the South Pole like this, I will definitely freeze to death. Xu Mingxian forcibly suppressed Holliff's desire to take revenge. Instead, he turned around and walked back. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he couldn't do it here. Besides, he could directly go to the third floor to stop Lin Jun. There was no need to die here. Holliff temporarily gave up the chase. Yin Huang continued to walk forward for a while. After walking through the ice field, a large snowy mountain appeared in front of them. The temperature suddenly dropped to minus 70 degrees. Yin Huang couldn't stand it anymore. After all, he didn't prepare any firepower equipment. This kind of temperature was not suitable for humans. Damn you, Lin Jun. Consider yourself lucky to have escaped a calamity today. However, don't be too proud. I will be waiting for you in Constantinople to walk right into my trap. Larex, where the hell are you? You took my realm-breaking nail and cloak of divinity and disappeared. If you were here today, Lin Jun wouldn't be so arrogant. Yin Huang cursed Lin Jun in his heart. He didn't know where his teacher was, but he turned around and walked towards the first floor. When Yin Huang appeared at the entrance of the first floor, the believers who had been waiting for a long time immediately surrounded him. They looked at Yin Huang expectantly. They hoped that he would say that he had killed Lin Jun. Yin Huang also wanted to say that he had killed Lin Jun, but he couldn't lie. Many masters on the stars ranking could see that Lin Jun's name was still on the stars ranking. If he lied, he would be exposed immediately. Return to the Vatican. Yin Huang's face was ashen as he boarded the aircraft. The believers around him didn't dare to breathe loudly and followed him. The crowd gradually dispersed, but everything that had happened here was now known to the whole world. Although Yin Huang and Lin Jun's fight ended in a draw, Yin Huang was a saint. He couldn't kill Lin Jun in a head-on fight. In reality, he had lost. This made many believers of the Divine Church very disappointed. Not only had they failed to capture Lin Jun, but they had also suffered heavy casualties. Several Star Realm experts had died, and a large number of Quasi-Star Realm and War Mortals had died. Even the Pope had almost been strangled to death by Lin Jun. In the end, Lin Jun had still managed to escape. Undoubtedly, this result was very difficult to accept. Some believers began to lose confidence in the church, and another wave of withdrawal quietly began. After returning to the Church of Divine Might in Constantinople, Yin Huang heard about Gongsun Du's performance in the city of ancient gods. He thought for a while with a gloomy face. Then, he ordered his subordinates, "I will go into seclusion now. I will not come out until I completely refine the starry sky crown. During this time, don't say or do anything. Just wait for me to come out. But your majesty, there are more people quitting now." Chapter 322. Walking alone on the frozen snow mountain, Lin Jun was deep in thought. He still remembered, when he met Adams and the others, someone said that his parents were captured by the church, and Yu even agreed to Yin Huang's proposal. Lin Jun didn't believe that Yu would agree to such a thing, but what about his parents? Were they captured by the church or not? Unfortunately, there was no internet here, so Lin Jun couldn't verify this matter. This matter couldn't be confirmed, and Lin Jun couldn't leave the city of ancient gods for the time being. If he went to the church now, he definitely wouldn't be able to return. Feeling a few burning wounds on his body, Lin Jun thought about how Yin Huang immediately fought with Halaf after being fully equipped with holy artifacts. He deeply felt the importance of holy artifacts. If he also had a full body of holy artifacts, then the battle wouldn't have ended like that. After searching inside the interspatial ring, Lin Jun found another top-quality astral spear, but he felt that it wasn't very convenient. He needed a holy artifact now. After climbing up the vast snow mountain, the temperature here had already dropped to -80 degrees. Lin Jun's astral artifact had already been changed to a flame armor set, and he released firepower to block the bone-piercing cold. Lin Jun encountered a quasi-SS rank snow demon. Lin Jun didn't know how this thing mutated, but it definitely shouldn't have appeared on Earth. A minute later, this almost humanoid snow demon was stabbed to death by Lin Jun, and the crystal was taken out. I can already fight a quasi-SS rank mutated beast, but this isn't enough. My goal is to be able to kill an SS rank. Lin Jun released Shaowan. Shaowan was of the fire attribute, so it couldn't adapt to the extreme cold, so it could only release firepower continuously. After Shaowan swallowed the snow demon's corpse, its body grew a little longer. Lin Jun looked at its shivering appearance and put it away. When they first entered the South Pole, they could still see some people. However, as Lin Jun went deeper into the South Pole, there were fewer and fewer people in the south. Later, they could not be seen at all. After climbing the highest peak of the snowy mountain, Lin Jun suddenly felt a bone-piercing cold that almost froze him. He thought that the snow mountain was cold enough, but now he knew that it was still warm because the cold air from the South Pole was blocked by the snow mountain. Looking south from the top of the snowy mountain, streaks of light fell from the sky in the southernmost area, forming a curtain of light that looked like the Milky Way hanging upside down. Clusters of jellyfish-like clouds floated in the air. These kinds of clouds could only be formed when the temperature was below -83°C. Now that night had arrived, the jellyfish clouds were still illuminated by the sunlight. It looked a little strange. Lin Jun's dark star spun, and streaks of firepower entered his astral weapon to resist the extreme cold. His eyes did not blink as he looked at the sunlight and jellyfish clouds. I'm almost there. The sunlight, there is the Aurora Australis. The place where the Aurora Australis falls is the South Pole. I just need to get there, and I could go to the 3rd floor. Large amounts of snow and wind blew in his face, and Lin Jun found it difficult to move forward. Step by step, he left a footprint in his wake. After walking for a while, Lin Jun's armor was covered in a layer of frost. It could not resist the extreme cold. Lin Jun did not use Flameheart. Instead, he let the dark star's firepower out again, slowly melting the frost on the armor. He walked from the snowy mountain to the plains in front of him. He crossed a frozen river, and a house made completely of ice appeared in front of him. The house was piled up like a small villa, and the words Ice Palace were written on it. Lin Jun knew that this was the Ice Palace that Dongfang Jun mentioned. It was the territory of the Hua Xiao martial artist, Luo Yun. However, he did not want to go in. He was anxious to find the sacred weapon and the earth elemental crystal. However, just as he passed by the entrance of the Ice Palace, the door suddenly opened. Dongfang Jun stood in the Ice Palace and smiled at Lin Jun. Brother Lin, why didn't you want to enter? You're making me lose face. Seeing Dongfang Jun, Lin Jun naturally couldn't continue walking forward. He could only smile and walk over. Brother Dongfang, I'm just anxious to go to the 3rd level. I don't want to disturb you if I can. Dongfang Jun came over and pulled Lin Jun into the Ice Palace. There's still many things to take note of when going to the 3rd floor. Come in and talk. People can freeze to death outside. Lin Jun followed in. After entering, he immediately felt his body warm up. The temperature inside the Ice Palace was about -30 to -40°C, but compared to outside, it was like heaven. There was a living room inside. After entering, there were 7 or 8 people inside. They were all Star Realm experts. I'm sure everyone knows of his great reputation. However, I still have to solemnly introduce him. This is a good friend of mine, Dongfang Jun, a genius martial artist from the Fierce Gale Academy, Lin Jun. He's the first expert in history to advance to the stars ranking with the strength of the quasi-star realm. He's currently ranked 51 on the meteor ranking. After hearing Dongfang Jun's introduction, everyone in the room revealed respectful expressions. The stars ranking was a symbol of strength. Lin Jun was now a Star Realm expert. If he did not enter the stars ranking, no one would respect him too much even if he defeated a Star Realm expert. After all, he was not on the stars ranking. However, it was different if he was on the stars ranking. There were 18 people on the heavenly star ranking, 36 on the dark star ranking, and 72 on the meteor ranking. These 126 people represented the strongest people in the world. Lin Jun was currently ranked 51st on the meteor ranking. His strength was about to enter the world's top 100. Moreover, he was only a Star Realm expert. Once he advanced to the Star Realm, he would definitely enter the top 100 or even the top 50. A person sitting in the middle stood up. Dongfang, we all know about Lin Jun. Not long ago, Brother Lin actually eliminated 3 stars ranking experts in a row and jumped to the 51st position. In my opinion, Brother Lin already has the strength to enter the top 30 of the meteor ranking. Dongfang Jun laughed loudly. It was obvious that he had a good relationship with Lin Jun, which made him feel proud. He turned to Lin Jun and said, Lin Jun, let me introduce you. This is Luo Yun. I'm sure you've seen him on the meteor ranking. He's a super expert ranked 3rd on the meteor ranking. He's very likely to enter the dark star ranking. Hee hee, It's not that easy to enter the Dark Star ranking. Come, let's not talk about this first. Today is the first time I've seen Brother Lin. Moreover, he's also a Chinese martial artist. Let's do our best as hosts. As he spoke, Luo Yun looked at the surrounding Star Realm experts. Brothers, have the food and wine been prepared? It's been ready for a long time. Dongfang said that Lin Jun would definitely come here, so we prepared early. All right, let's begin. Luo Yun waved his hand, and Dongfang Jun pulled Lin Jun into the dining room. The dining room was also a room carved out of ice. There was actually a hot pot on the table in the center, causing the temperature in the room to rise by a lot. Even a normal person could barely eat. Everyone was a martial artist and an expert at that. Naturally, they didn't care about the low temperature and took their seats. This time, the seating was a bit more particular. Luo Yun was the strongest person present, and he was also the host. Naturally, he sat in the middle. On his left was Dongfang Jun, and on his right was Lin Jun. Dongfang Jun was also on the stars ranking now, ranked 33rd. He was older than Lin Jun and used to be the Hall Master of Fierce Wind, so it was no problem for him to sit here. As for Lin Jun, a young man who had just turned 21 years old, he sat in the third position. The other Star Realm experts felt that it was only natural. He was an expert on the stars ranking, and his status was definitely different from those of them who weren't on the stars ranking. This position was definitely his. Someone took out a large bottle of strong wine and filled everyone's cups. Then he put down his cup and said, "Come, everyone, welcome Brother Lin to the Ice Palace. It's fate that brought us together. From now on, we'll all be friends. Cheers! Cheers, cheers!" Everyone raised their cups and drank it in one gulp. To be able to eat hot pot and drink strong wine in this world of ice and snow was indeed a kind of enjoyment. Lin Jun felt warm and comfortable. After eating something, Luo Yun said, "Brother Lin, we've heard about you. Although there's no network here, you can still use the walkie-talkie to communicate on the second level. Moreover, there's a network signal on the third level. We've all watched your video. To be able to fight with Yin Huang on the Dark Star ranking to such an extent, I can only say that I'm impressed." Lin Jun smiled and nodded. It seemed that the upper part of the ship could receive the signal. This was quite convenient. Luo Yun continued, "But let me give you a suggestion. Brother Lin, although your strength is strong enough, your equipment is still lacking. If you had a full set of sacred equipment, then no matter if you were facing Yin Huang or that strange-looking Hollow, you wouldn't be in such a sorry state like you were at the end." Lin Jun nodded. "That's right. I only have one sacred equipment armor. If I had a full set of equipment, even Yin Huang would have a hard time shaking my defense." Luo Yun clapped his hands. "That's right. That's why I want to discuss something with you." "What is it?" Lin Jun was stunned. "It's very simple. You, me, and Dongfang. The three of us will go to the third level and have some fun. At the very least, we'll try to get a full set of sacred equipment. How about it? The three of us will go to the third level. That's right. Don't be fooled by the fact that I've occupied the Ice Palace on the second floor. That's because I'm unable to gain a foothold on the third floor, so I had no choice but to stay on the second floor. Recently, Dongfang came over, and the two of us joined forces to pass through the third floor. However, there's an SS rank Cerberus at the entrance to the third floor. The two of us have tried to pass through it several times, but to no avail. Furthermore, my subordinates aren't on the stars ranking, so they don't have the qualifications to enter the third floor. This time, Brother Lin, you're here. Now that Brother Lin is here, Brother Lin, we should give it a try. If we don't deal with this Cerberus, we won't be able to enter the third level. We won't be able to obtain the treasures there. Without sacred equipment, we won't be able to compete in the stars ranking. It will be very difficult for Brother Lin to save his parents." Chapter 323. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Dongfang Jun was stunned. "You still don't know?" Lin Jun's heart sank. Could it be that Adams and the others weren't lying? "Brother Dongfang, what exactly happened? I haven't been online for a while, so I don't know what's going on outside." Dongfang Jun sighed and told Lin Jun everything that happened during this period of time. Bingsheng was still besieged by mutant beasts. And Ning was in Bingsheng. His parents had been captured by the Vatican, and Li Yao had died in battle. Su Mingwei had announced her withdrawal from the church, and her whereabouts were still unknown. Lin Jun really didn't know about these things. After hearing the story, his heart felt heavy. Dongfang Jun said to Lin Jun, "Brother Lin, I still have to advise you not to go back to the Vatican immediately to save them. Your parents have been captured for a long time. Moreover, if you go back in your current state, forgive me for being blunt, but you really have no chance of winning. Not only will you not be able to save your parents, I'm afraid you'll even lose your life." Lin Jun nodded. "Of course I know about these things, but we can't stay here for too long. The situation now is different from before. I've fought with Yin Huang face to face, and many things have been completely exposed. Furthermore, the church is in a critical situation now, so I have to be careful of Yin Huang's desperate actions." Dongfang Jun thought for a moment. Yin Huang still hasn't said anything about canceling his wedding date. He probably still has some plans in his heart. There are only 20 days until his wedding. That's why I have to rush back within 20 days. Any later, and it might be too late. I still have to prepare some things, so I have to go back in half a month at most. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Luo Yun immediately slammed the table. "Okay, then let's go after eating. We'll try to have some decent gains in half a month." After eating hot pot, Luo Yun, Dongfang Jun, and Lin Jun headed to the South Pole together. Lin Jun had long embedded the blazing heart in his armor to protect himself from the extreme cold of the South Pole. Luo Yun pointed to the sky when they arrived at the place where the aurora was descending. The place where the aurora appeared is the entrance to the third floor. That Cerberus is entrenched at the entrance. There should be a sacred artifact in its lair. If we kill it, we will definitely gain something. Dongfang Jun added, "Brother Lin, you have to be careful. The 3 heads of the 3-headed hellhound can release different elemental energies. One head can release corrosive poison, one head can release raging flames, and one head can release freezing air. The main reason is that the corrosive poison is too difficult to deal with." "It's all right, I think I can deal with it." Lin Jun was immune to poison, so he was not afraid of any kind of poison. "All right, let's go." The 3 of them leaped up almost at the same time, following the aurora at the South Pole straight into the sky. The few Star Realm experts below watched the 3 of them disappear into the entrance of the 3rd floor from afar. They couldn't help but feel a trace of admiration in their hearts. When would they be able to have the prestige of a star's ranker? Although Lin Jun was still a quasi-Star Realm expert, in the eyes of most Star Realm experts, Lin Jun was already a senior expert. After passing through the aurora and arriving at the entrance to the 3rd floor, Lin Jun felt the star's rancor in his spiritual sea flicker. The 3rd floor's light screen opened, and he, Luo Yun, and Dongfang Jun entered the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor was a little dim. As soon as they entered, they could feel a trace of a rotten aura. The soil on the ground was black. Lin Jun and the others appeared. Not far away, a huge ghoul immediately roared and pounced over. This was a quasi-rank SS mutated beast. Lin Jun could now easily kill it alone. The 3 of them worked together and killed it in 10 seconds. Looking at the ghoul's stinky body, Lin Jun frowned slightly. Is this still a mutated beast? No, this is no longer a mutated beast. It's not even a creature from Earth. These things are called demonic creatures. The entire 3rd floor is filled with similar monsters. However, their ranks also correspond to the rank of the mutated beast. A quasi-rank SS ghoul like this is the weakest on the 3rd floor. Just as Luo Yin finished speaking, a huge roar sounded. His expression immediately changed. The Cerberus is here. Lin Jun released Xiaonuan. After coming out, Xiaonuan immediately devoured the ghoul's corpse. The ground trembled. A huge demonic creature that was 5 meters tall and over 10 meters long quickly rushed over. Its 3 heads were dripping with saliva. It was abnormally terrifying. "Go, according to the plan. Lin Jun, you deal with the corrosive venom head in the middle. I'll deal with the left and right." "It's here." Lin Jun gripped his spear. This was the first time he faced an SS-rank demonic creature. The Cerberus roared as Dongfang Jun and Luo Yun attacked at the same time. Both of their weapons were low-grade sacred swords. One of them used the ice element while the other used the fire element. They constantly teleported, but they didn't leave the left and right sides of the Cerberus. The purpose of dealing with the Cerberus was to create opportunities for Lin Jun. Without having to worry about the left and right heads, Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and rushed towards the middle head. The hellhound's mouth that was larger than a room opened, and a mouthful of venom sprayed out. However, Lin Jun, nevertheless, suddenly accelerated, fiercely rushing through the venom. He felt a burst of heat on his body. Besides the Holy Tool armor and the Thunderlight wings, the other astral tools had unexpectedly been corroded, rapidly losing their effectiveness. However, Lin Jun was fine. After absorbing the cinnabar from the 5 Dalian pool, Lin Jun's body was not afraid of any poison. He rushed in front of the Cerberus, and with a flick of his wrist, a 7-star blade appeared in his hand. He fiercely slashed at the Cerberus. Pooh! Lin Jun had left a 1-meter-long gash in the hellhound's mouth. The hellhound howled in pain as its flesh was torn apart. Unexpectedly, the venom was ineffective against Lin Jun. The Cerberus went berserk after being slashed. It opened its mouth and fiercely bit at Lin Jun. Just as the Cerberus's mouth was about to close, Lin Jun teleported away. He teleported to the top of the Cerberus's head and ruthlessly slashed at it again. Blood splattered everywhere, and the Cerberus went berserk. The left head abandoned Dongfang Jun and bit towards Lin Jun. However, Luo Yin promptly supported it and blasted it away with a fireball, saving Lin Jun's life. The right head bit towards Luo Yin. Dongfang Jun shot out an ice blade and saved Luo Yin once again. The middle head sprayed venom at Dongfang Jun. Lin Jun blocked it with his body. At the same time, he fiercely blasted an energy ball into the Cerberus's mouth, turning it into a bloody mess. This kind of SS-grade mutant beast was not something any one person could deal with alone. However, the 3-star ranking experts were able to barely hold it together. Xiao Wan, who had turned into the size of a lion, was also very useful. This Star River beast's speed was abnormally fast. Furthermore, it specialized in attacking the Cerberus's retreat. Every time it opened its mouth, it would fiercely bite off a large piece of flesh and eat it in a few bites. The Cerberus was already having a hard time dealing with the 3 experts. It really did not have the time to deal with Xiao Wan's constant harassment. This battle could be said to be filled with danger. The 3 of them almost lost their lives several times. Fortunately, they did not abandon each other and supported each other. Only then were they able to hold on. After more than an hour of bitter fighting, in the end, Xiao Wan bit off one of the Cerberus's legs. The 3 of them finally seized the opportunity to launch a large-scale counterattack. Everyone practically used all of their strength. Lin Jun's astral tool spear was destroyed by the Cerberus's venom in the first instant. He simply used the energy balls as bombs and blew up the Cerberus's middle head. The Cerberus, whose speed had slowed down and was heavily injured, finally could not hold on any longer. Under the combined attacks of the 3 people and 1 beast, it fell down and died. The battle ended. The 3 of them were so tired that their chests were heaving up and down. They did not want to move at all. No wonder only star ranking experts could come up to the 3rd floor. Other Star Realm experts were simply throwing their lives away. After resting for a while, Lin Jun was the first to recover. He took out 3 crystals from the Cerberus's body and then rewarded the huge body to Xiao Wan, who had made a great contribution. This was an SS rank feast. Xiao Wan pounced on it and ate heartily. He was extremely happy. At this time, Luo Yin stood up. Let's quickly go to the Cerberus's lair. There must be good things there. The 3 of them flew all the way. A minute later, they appeared in front of the Cerberus's lair. Walking into the lair, there were no other creatures. When they reached the end, the shining treasures made their eyes light up. There was a low-grade Saint Tool armor, a low-grade Saint Tool boots, a medium-grade Saint Tool longsword, and a medium-grade Saint Tool long spear. Luo Yin went over and picked up the 4 Saint Tools. He immediately laughed loudly. Great! We really didn't come in vain this time. This Cerberus has indeed collected a lot of good things. The 3 of them gathered together, their faces full of joy. In the end, Luo Yun made the distribution. The medium-grade Saint Tool long sword belonged to him. His original low-grade Saint Tool sword and armor were given to Dongfang Jun. As for the boots and long spear, they belonged to Lin Jun. Everyone was happy. Lin Jun could be considered the biggest winner. However, he also put in the most effort. Without his poison-impenetrable physique, it would be difficult for anyone to deal with the Cerberus, unless they were especially strong, such as those old ghosts on the Heavenly Star list. Holding the long spear in his hand, Lin Jun was unable to contain his joy. The medium-grade Saint Tool long spear was called Ardent Light. It was 5 meters long and weighed 1,400 kilograms. The body of the spear was bright gold, and the tip of the spear was sharp. From the inside to the outside, it revealed a simple and unadorned aura. Waving it in his hand a few times, it was flowing with brilliance. He liked it very much. If Brother Lin had this long spear just now, then the Cerberus would have been killed long ago. Seeing Brother Lin use a small knife to deal with the Cerberus, I was worried for him. Luo Yun and Dongfang Jun laughed loudly. Lin Jun put on the low-grade Saint Tool boots again. At this time, he already had 3 Saint Tools on him. As long as I get the Earth Elemental Core, I will immediately leave this place. There are still many people waiting for me outside. Lin Jun secretly made up his mind. Just as they finished dividing the loot, Xiaowan suddenly ran in from outside. Chapter 324. If Xiaowan was previously the size of a half-grown lion, then after devouring the Cerberus, Xiaowan had clearly evolved. Its body was over 3 meters long, reaching Lin Jun's chest. Its red mane made its head seem even larger, but its face was still deceiving. It ran up to Lin Jun and rubbed its head against Lin Jun's chest. Lin Jun rubbed Xiaowan's head. He could clearly feel the strength of this fellow. If Xiaowan was an infant before, then he was now a child. Luo Yun looked at Xiaowan with envy. Brother Lin, although I don't know what rank this mutant beast of yours is, I feel that its future is limitless. The feeling it gives me right now is that it's not much weaker than an SS rank mutant beast. Dongfang Jun nodded. That's right. With this little fellow's help, we won't have to waste so much effort dealing with SS rank mutant beasts. Lin Jun waved Ardent Light in his hand. Since we're strong now, there's no need to wait any longer. Let's continue forward and start sweeping through the 3rd floor. In such a hurry? Aren't we going to rest? Dongfang Jun asked. No need. I've already rested. Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and flew out of the cave. Xiaowan immediately followed. Luo Yun glanced at Dongfang Jun. Let's go. Brother Lin still has a lot to do outside. We have to hurry. While Brother Lin is here, we'll make a fortune. Dongfang Jun smiled. I watched Lin Jun grow up, but I didn't expect him to be this talented. Maybe we'll have to look up to him in the future. I think so too. The two of them followed behind Lin Jun and began to sweep through the 3rd level. With a sacred artifact and Xiaowan's obvious increase in strength, clearing out monsters became much easier. Xiaowan could hunt down quasi-SS ranked demonic beasts on his own. If he encountered SS ranked demonic beasts, the 3 of them could finish them off in half an hour. Their teamwork was becoming more and more tacit. He obtained crystals one by one, but he still couldn't find a suitable earth elemental crystal. On the 7th day, Xiaowan killed a demonic earth bear, but it was a quasi-SS crystal. Lin Jun wasn't too satisfied. He hoped to obtain an SS rank earth elemental crystal. Only then would it be beneficial for the formation of the Dark Star. After all, the SS rank earth elemental crystal contained more earth elemental crystals, and the Dark Star formed would be larger. In Lin Jun's mind, he planned to leave for at most half a month. Although he could access the internet on the 3rd level during this time, there were no movements from the Vatican. He wanted to contact Su Mingwei, but he couldn't get in touch with her. Meanwhile, the fierce battle in Bingsheng was still ongoing. On the 12th day, Lin Jun couldn't hold it in any longer. He wanted to leave. Although he had gained quite a lot in the past few days, obtaining a sacred artifact helmet and skirt armor, and although his parents were safe for the time being, Bingsheng seemed to be in trouble. This time, The scale of the mutant beast attack seemed to be even greater than the one in his previous life. The siege had been going on for almost a month, but the number of mutant beasts hadn't decreased. Even if there was a decrease, it was only the low-level cannon fodder. On the contrary, the number of high-level mutant beasts was increasing. Bingqing's ammunition reserves and manpower consumption had reached a dangerous level. Lin Jun had seen Ning several times through the internet. Ning's beautiful face had become somewhat haggard. After fighting on the front lines for so long, Lin Jun couldn't bear to see her like this. On the 13th day, just as Lin Jun was about to leave, Luo Yun ran over excitedly. "Brother Lin, I have a big deal. Do you dare do it once?" "What big deal?" Lin Jun asked. "Right now, a few star rankers on the 3rd level are planning to join forces to deal with the Earth Demon Dragon. They're asking if we want to participate." "Earth Demon Dragon? Can we deal with it?" "That's a quasi-SSS rank demonic beast." Dongfang Jun was stunned. "The 3 of us definitely can't do it. That's why we need more people. We all know that the dragon race has a habit of collecting treasures. This Earth Demon Dragon is considered the strongest demonic beast on the 3rd level. Who knows, it might have collected a lot of good stuff. Moreover, Brother Lin, don't you want to collect Earth Elemental Crystals? I think this is an opportunity." Dongfang Jun also looked at Lin Jun. He said, "Brother Lin, it's definitely not easy to deal with the Earth Demon Dragon. Even if we join forces, it won't be easy. I see that you're anxious to leave. You have to think carefully." Lin Jun hesitated for a moment, weighing the pros and cons. If he went out in his current state, he wouldn't be of much use. He might even be killed by the church. It was better to hold on for a few more days. Let's go together. We'll leave after this." Seeing that Lin Jun agreed, Luo Yun and Dongfang Jun were also happy. The 3 of them, together with Wan, immediately set off for the demonic Dragon Mountain. "Machine gunners in the bunker. Your mission is to average your strength. Focus on the attack. That's the job of the sniper team. Remember that. The mutated birds are coming down. Prepare the petrol bombs. Sniper team, kill that mutated bison that's ramming into the city wall. The city wall is our lifeline. We can't let it fall. Where's the Ares killing team? The northeast city wall has fallen. A group of mutated apes is coming up. Near the Ice City's city wall, shouts and screams shook the sky. Countless mutated beasts were fighting to be first. They were like a tide that covered the city wall. A group of bison attracted the firepower of the northeast city wall. Then, a group of mutated apes quickly climbed up. In a few seconds, they had reached the top of the city wall. They waved their huge claws and instantly tore hundreds of city guards into pieces. At this time, a flag was raised. The employees of the Infamily Group had formed a sniper team. The leader was a beautiful war goddess wearing a purple dress and light armor. Her slim and beautiful figure shuttled through the battlefield. She raised her sword and slashed it down, beheading the giant apes on the spot. And Ning had no choice but to take the lead. Not only had the Infamily invested hundreds of billions of funds in this battle, they had also invested countless manpower. In this month of siege warfare, tens of thousands of Infamily Group's employees had fallen forever on this battlefield. In the sky, a group of mutated geese swooped down, wanting to annihilate the Infamily's killing team. And Ning's sword danced. A huge wave appeared out of nowhere and smashed down, knocking down the group of mutated birds. An S-grade Monkey King's sharp claws brushed past her shoulder, leaving a few wounds. And Ning, who had been fighting for a long time, staggered a bit. However, she didn't care. Injuries were common on the battlefield. As Chris, who had cultivated in the Mediterranean Sea, she couldn't remember how many times she had been injured. Just as she was about to finish off the S-grade Monkey King, a figure suddenly dashed over from behind. The figure wielded a spear, and after a few rounds, he finally took down the monkey. The man turned around, panting. He looked at Ning with a gentle gaze. "Ning, miss, I'm sorry I'm late. Are you all right?" Ning frowned slightly. "Thank you, Commander. I'm fine." The commander's name was Shunlixing. He came from the military and was a Star Realm expert. He was also the commander of the capital's city guards. It was said that his father was a high-ranking official in China. and Ning didn't know if it was true or not. She didn't have the heart to gossip. After Shun Lixing killed the Monkey King, the wave of mutated beasts finally retreated. Cheers came from the city walls. Shun Lixing, in particular, was surrounded by people like a moon surrounded by stars. Everyone, don't worry. We've already defeated the attacks of the mutated beasts time and time again. Moreover, I've already formulated a counterattack. Operation Decapitation. As long as you believe in me, I promise that the battle will end tonight. And Ning watched from afar. However, she didn't agree with Shun Lixing's words. And Ning was very clear about the so-called Operation Decapitation. It was to organize a team of elites and head into the depths of the mutated beasts to kill the enemy of 10,000 men. However, was it that easy to kill the enemy of 10,000 men? If things didn't go well, they would suffer heavy losses and return in defeat. Bingsheng couldn't afford to suffer any more losses. Not only did it consume a lot of manpower and financial resources, but more importantly, the citizens couldn't see any hope. The mutated beasts were endless. If nothing unexpected happened, it was only a matter of time before Bingsheng fell. The Operation Decapitation must be carried out. However, Ning felt that the current manpower was not enough to complete the mission. She suggested waiting for reinforcements. Bingsheng could still hold on for a while. If they failed, it would be a huge blow to the citizens' confidence. However, Shun Lixing disagreed. This person wanted to achieve something and was very passionate about the Operation Decapitation. He had been planning for many days. Now, everything was ready and they were ready to set off. After Shun Lixing shouted for a while, he came to Ning's side. Miss Ning, our Operation Decapitation team is about to set off. Currently, we have already located the enemy of 10,000 men. I believe that after tonight, the mutated beasts will disperse and this battle will end. At that time, I will invite Ning to my house as a guest, and we can talk about our friendship. And Ning raised her beautiful eyebrows and said, I don't think it's necessary. My suggestion is to wait for reinforcements. The current strength is not enough to kill the enemy of 10,000 men. Reinforcements? Where are we going to get reinforcements? Shun Lixing said with a serious face. Now, all the headquarters cities are in a difficult situation. They are being harassed and attacked by the mutated beasts to varying degrees. The reinforcements we can give Bingsheng are already at their limit. Unless you can find those peerless experts to kill the enemy of 10,000 men. However, those peerless experts are training in some ancient god ruins and might not know anything about Bingsheng. Even if they know, I'm afraid that those who are not from Bingsheng would not care about this. And Ning hesitated for a while. I received a message from Linjin yesterday. He asked me to wait for him. I think he will definitely come to Bingsheng. Linjin? Shun Lixing's face showed a trace of dissatisfaction. He had almost forgotten that this beautiful woman in front of him was Lin Zhan's girlfriend. This made him, who was interested in Ning, a little jealous. Miss Ning, although Mr. Lin Zhan is a strong martial artist and has a passion for patriotism, don't forget that this is a battle between mutated beasts and not a battle of heroism. Even if Lin Zhan comes, can he save Bingsheng by himself? I don't think it's possible. Also, I highly doubt that Lin Zhan will come. As the commander-in-chief of Bingsheng, I cannot place all my hopes on one person. We have to save ourselves. And Ning turned her head. I've already said what I should say. Since the commander-in-chief insists, then we will do as you say. As for your request to visit your house, I think it's better not. I am Lin Zhan's girlfriend. It's not convenient for me to be with other men. You can do as you wish. After saying that, and Ning turned and walked down the city wall. She was also very tired and needed a rest. Being rejected mercilessly by Ning, Shun Lixing's face was a little gloomy. Although he was also a genius and had a high position, he did not have the guts to challenge Lin Zhan. And Ning, after I save this battle, I will invite you to my house in front of everyone. Let's see how you will reject me then. Chapter 325. The decapitation team set off. Based on the satellite positioning, the enemy of 10,000 was located in the west of Bingsheng. All the firepower was concentrated to provide cover for the decapitation team. The rocket launchers took turns to bombard the area in the west, turning it into a vacuum. The decapitation team quickly advanced and disappeared from the people's sight. They could no longer be seen, but soon, a mushroom cloud rose from the distance. It was a shelter guardian that had self-destructed. The star rankers told the people of the Bay City not to worry and that everything was going according to plan. However, what happened after that was unpleasant for the viewers. A type of mutant hedgehog, with spikes all over its body, shot out like spears. After a series of concentrated long-range attacks, half of the members of the execution team fell into a pool of blood. The sudden change ruined the decapitation team's hope. The last star ranker did not even get to see the enemy of 10,000 before he fell under the claws of a group of quasi-SS mutant leopards. The decapitation team's defeat almost completely destroyed the hope of the people of Bingqing. Morale plummeted, and people began to give up on themselves. Even such an elite team was wiped out. The remaining tens of millions of people in Bingqing had no chance of breaking out. Perhaps the city would be breached tomorrow. The demonic Dragon Mountain was located in the middle of the 3rd floor. After passing through a tunnel, one would be able to reach the 4th floor. However, the tunnel was the demonic dragon's lair. The demonic earth dragon was entrenched here, preventing people from moving forward. Because of the demonic earth dragon's presence, no other demonic beasts dared to approach this area. In the tunnel, a loud roar had been going on for a few hours. A loud roar of a beast was heard, and then it gradually calmed down. Lin Jun didn't even want to move a finger as he sat there paralyzed. This battle had been too difficult. 8-star rankers joined forces to fight the demonic earth dragon, and 3 of them died on the spot. Fortunately, they won. At the last moment, Lin Jun used Space Slicer to cut open the demonic earth dragon's brain and obtain the earth elemental crystal. In the demonic earth dragon's lair, there were a total of 9 sacred weapons. One of them was even an upper sacred weapon. The rest of the people split the loot. However, Lin Jun didn't get anything this time because he had already taken the quasi-SSS grade earth elemental crystal. That was the best loot. After everyone had distributed the items, Lin Jun looked at the earth demon dragon's massive corpse and asked for it. Of course, Lin Jun wouldn't take it for free. Lin Jun gave everyone present an additional 3 billion yuan. Originally, there were others who wanted the corpse as well. However, Lin Jun did not participate in the distribution of the sacred artifact. Thus, they were too embarrassed to compete with Lin Jun. Thus, they agreed to leave the corpse to Lin Jun. The Earth Demon Dragon's corpse was very valuable. If it was sold outside, it could be sold for 20 billion. However, Zhao Hai bought it for Xiaowan. He released Xiaowan to devour the Earth Demon Dragon. After devouring this big guy, Xiaowan seemed to have reached a bottleneck in its evolution. It immediately entered a deep sleep in the Black Ghost. After getting the Earth Elemental Crystal, Lin Jun immediately bid farewell to the others. Luo Yun and Dong Fangju knew that Lin Jun was in a hurry to leave, so they didn't ask him to stay. The two returned to the Ice Palace while Lin Jun left the city of ancient gods directly. After leaving the city, the air outside made Lin Jun feel refreshed. My hard work during this period didn't go to waste. I got a quasi-SSS grade Earth Elemental Crystal. I can finally condense my dark star. Lin Jun took out his phone and looked at the situation in Ice City. He was shocked when he saw it. In order to avoid being distracted by other things, he didn't pay much attention to the internet. However, in just 2 days, the situation in Ice City had become like this. The execution team's operation failed. What's the way out for the people of Ice City? Good news, good news. Commander-in-Chief Shen Lixing has announced that he has received a promise from Grand God Allen. As long as the people of Ice City believe in the Star God sect again and swear never to betray them, the sect is willing to send troops to help Ice City resolve the crisis. And Ning, the eldest daughter of the group, has announced that she will live and die with Ice City and will never join the Star God sect again. Ice City is in chaos due to internal and external troubles. Reading the articles, Lin Jun had a general understanding of the situation in Ice City. There was now a commander-in-chief called Shen Lixing in Ice City. He was the one who planned the execution, but it ended in failure. After the failure, Shinlixing somehow managed to contact Grand God Alan from the Church of Sophia. Alan promised him that as long as the people of Bingsheng rejoined the Church of God would be willing to send troops to help Bingsheng out of the siege. However, this matter was opposed by Ning, as well as many warriors in the northwest, Shanghai, Beijing, and other Bay cities. Lin Jin knew many of the people who objected. Mutant beasts were attacking Ice City outside, and there was civil strife inside. If this continued, it was only a matter of time before the city fell. From the news, Lin Jun also analyzed some things. Alan was originally chasing him in the city of ancient gods, but he went in the wrong direction. When he went to the North Pole, he went to the South Pole. However, there was no news of him later. It turned out that he had left long ago. This matter was agreed by Alan, and it could be seen that there was basically no one in charge of the sect now. Yin Huang might be cultivating in seclusion. He also checked the news about his parents. They were currently imprisoned in the Holy Might Church in Constantinople, and their lives were not in danger for the time being. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Jun decided to go to Ice City first. However, before that, he had to make a breakthrough first. Only by condensing the Dark Star would Lin Jun be able to get out of Bingqing's predicament. Otherwise, it would be pointless. He did not post the news of his return on the internet. He only sent a message to Ning. "I'm back. Hang in there." After the message was sent, Ning quickly replied to Lin Jun, "I'll wait for you." Lin Jun then called Su Mingwei, but he could not get through. He could only give up. Wearing the metal mask, Lin Jun controlled his aura to that of a 5th-grade war god, so that outsiders would not be able to tell who he was. He then sat on a small aircraft and left the city of ancient gods. After flying to Jiaodong County, Lin Jun's aircraft landed on the top of the Jiaodong skyscraper. It was already the middle of winter. Lin Jun had been reborn for more than 4 years, and this was the 5th year. When he landed on the Jiaodong skyscraper, it was almost an empty city. All the mutant beasts had gone to participate in the siege of Ice City. The former wilderness had become a no-man's land. The surrounding was still snowy, but after experiencing the extreme cold of the South Pole in the city of ancient gods, Lin Jun was almost immune to such low temperatures. Arriving at the place where he had broken through in the past, Lin Jun sat down. He knew that he was facing a very crucial moment. Other than the matter of Ice City, the Vatican was also Lin Jun's greatest worry. Once Yin Huang came out of seclusion, his strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Now, there were only 4 days left until Yin Huang's wedding. Yu Er's whereabouts were still unknown, and his parents were trapped in Constantinople, waiting for him to rescue them. All of this had to be backed by his strength, and the condensing of the Dark Star's nucleus was the most crucial step for him. He had never experienced this step in his previous life. Even though he had heard of some people who had coincidentally obtained the Dark Star, he had never heard of anyone who could actually condense the Dark Star into a solid state. Maybe I'm making history. Lin Jun took a deep breath, threw all the distracting thoughts to the back of his mind, and began to meditate on the spot. He adjusted his breathing, cultivated, and absorbed the energy of heaven and earth. After an hour, he felt that his condition had reached the optimal level, so he stopped cultivating. From the space ring, Lin Jun took out 2 Earth elemental crystals. One was from a quasi-SS rank magical beast, and the other was from a quasi-SSS rank magical beast. Actually, the most ideal one would be an SS rank magical beast, but unfortunately, I couldn't find one. Of these 2, one is slightly bigger, and the other is slightly smaller. I don't know what the final effect will be, so I'll try absorbing the smaller one first. Taking out the quasi-SS rank magical beast, Lin Jun placed it in front of his Dantian. The Dantian's chi began to circulate, and the energy of this magical beast entered Lin Jun's Dantian. As soon as the Earth elemental energy entered, the Dark Star in Lin Jun's body began to spin crazily. The other elements in this Dark Star had been condensed for many days. Water, fire, wind, lightning, gold, light, all kinds of energy surged, but it lacked the Earth elemental energy. Now that it saw the Earth elemental energy, it was like rain after a long drought, and the entire Dark Star came alive at this moment. What a fast absorption speed! Lin Jun used his mental power to look inside, and saw that the dark star was spinning faster and faster. The earth elemental energy passed through two spaces and quickly entered the dark star. This was not the same as condensing the Dantian's qi. The dark star was operating in another space, and it relied on the Dantian's qi. At this moment, the dark star began to form a foundation. After the earth elemental energy entered, it quickly gathered inside the dark star, forming the outer shell of the planet. As far as I know, the foundation of a planet is Earth, but the interior of a planet is divided into several layers. From the outside to the inside, there are the crust, lithosphere, asthenosphere, upper mantle, lower mantle, outer core, and inner core. Just this quasi-SS rank magical beast is not enough to condense all these layers, but I wonder to what extent it can condense. 10 minutes. Under Lin Jun's gaze, the earth elemental energy was completely absorbed in 10 minutes, and the dark star's core had only condensed a layer of outer shell, and the second layer of lithosphere had yet to condense. Sure enough, this earth elemental is not enough. Luckily, I was prepared. Lin Jun placed the quasi-SSS rank magical beast in front of his Dantian again. The magical beast was rapidly decomposing, and it quickly rushed into the dark star. The dark star that was about to stop spinning once again gained new vitality. It was growing rapidly in front of Lin Jun's eyes. Chapter 3:26. The asthenosphere was located above the mantle and below the lithosphere. The temperature here was around 1,300 degrees, close to the melting point of rocks. Normally, the crust, lithosphere, and asthenosphere were all part of the Earth's crust. The upper mantle and the lower mantle were part of the Earth's mantle. The outer core and the inner core were the core. When the quasi-SSS crystal began to condense the asthenosphere, the firepower of Lin Jun's dark star began to pour in. The fire and earth elements condensed and began to form the rocks of the asthenosphere. The rocks here were liquid, unlike the lithosphere, which was already solid. Fortunately, I have all the elements in my body. Otherwise, it would be impossible to condense the planet's core. This asthenosphere is enough to stump me. 3 hours had passed since the asthenosphere had formed. Next was the upper mantle. The upper mantle was many times thicker than the asthenosphere. According to Earth's theory, this was the source of earthquakes, and the temperature was higher. The consumption of the quasi-SSS crystal in Lin Jun's hand began to increase. Waves of earth elements were madly poured in, and the upper mantle was rapidly forming. However, Lin Jun frowned slightly. After the upper mantle, there was still the lower mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. It seemed that the earth elements in this quasi-SSS crystal were not enough. Of course, even if it was not enough, Lin Jun's dark star could still condense. However, after condensing, it might not reach its strongest state. This made Lin Jun, who pursued perfection, feel somewhat regretful. Forget it. I'll take it one step at a time. At this point, there is no turning back. Lin Jun stopped thinking about these problems and allowed the power of the earth element to enter his body. The sky gradually darkened, and dark clouds covered the sky. It was a cold night. It was not until 10 o'clock at night that the upper mantle of Lin Jun's dark star was completed. Next was the lower mantle. Lin Jun scanned the crystal with his mental power. At this time, the crystal had shrunk by half. The remaining part was enough to condense the lower mantle. However, it was clearly not enough to condense the outer core. Lin Jun was also caught between a rock and a hard place. He did not expect that condensing his dark star would be so difficult. Even quasi-SSS rank crystals were not enough. However, he couldn't find an SSS grade 1. If he waited until then to condense it, it would be too late. Lin Jun's mental power swept across the dark star again and again as he waited for the earth curtain to take shape. This process lasted for more than 8 hours. The mantle was only completed when the sky turned dark and the sky turned bright. As for the crystal in Lin Jun's hand, there was only 1/5 left. Forget it, I'll continue to absorb. Next is the outer core. Lin Jun had no intention of stopping. Traces of earth elements continued to enter the dark star and began to condense the outer core. If the crust was solid and the mantle was liquid, then the core would be highly compressed. When Lin Jun started to condense the earth core, the gold chi above the dark star started to crazily pour in. For a real planet, the core was very dense. Even diamond would be crushed into butter when it reached the core. However, Lin Jun's gold chi was the first of the 5 elements. It was the sharpest and toughest. As the gold chi poured in, the density of the earth core also increased. As the earth core condensed, Lin Jun felt that the space around the dark star became more stable. The rotation speed of the dark star gradually slowed down. This meant that the dark star was about to take shape. However, Lin Jun was secretly complaining in his heart. There was not enough earth element. At this time, he realized how much earth element he was lacking. At first, he thought that this quasi-SSS rank crystal would be able to condense the outer core. That way, the planet would have a little foundation. However, he never thought that the core was the main source of earth element. Just as the outer core formed a thin layer, the earth element crystal was completely gone. According to this calculation, not to mention one quasi-SSS rank crystal, even 10 crystals would not be enough. Without a core condensed, the dark star's rotation seemed to have stagnated. Lin Jun knew that this was a dangerous time. If he did not strike while the iron was hot and condense the core, the dark star might stay in this state forever. Of course, Lin Jun's current state could still provide him with quite a bit of strength. However, he had lost the possibility of leveling up. The dark star that Lin Jun had painstakingly created would sooner or later become a useless existence in the universe. Lin Jun absolutely could not allow such a thing to happen. Isn't it just matter? Isn't it just earth energy? I'll go all out today. Lin Jun resolutely took out an item from his spatial ring. A neutron. This was a neutron that flowed out from a black hole in the universe. It was something that had been compressed to the limit. Such a mere neutron was comparable to the weight of the Himalayas. However, Lin Jun felt that the neutron's core had a trace of a black hole's aura. This made Lin Jun, who was instinctively afraid of black holes, not dare to take a step forward. However, at this time, the thought of advancement had already suppressed his fear. He had to go all out. Come, success or death, it's all up to you. Lin Jun resolutely placed the neutron in front of his lower abdomen. The chi in his dantian began to absorb the neutron's energy. When matter was compressed to the extreme, the so-called metals and minerals would no longer exist. They would all turn into soil, highly compressed soil. Thus, after the chi in his dantian absorbed the neutron, the soil in the neutron began to quietly decompose. It decomposed bit by bit and entered Lin Jun's dantian. The earth energy passed through his dantian and entered the space where the dark star was located. Then, it was absorbed by the planet that was forming, entering the core and compressing it again. At this time, only by using a microscope would one be able to see the earth energy seeping out from the neutron. This bit of loss was almost negligible to the neutron. After receiving a large amount of earth energy, Lin Jun's dark star, which was about to stagnate, once again gained a powerful vitality and entered a high-speed period of operation. Time turned from day to night once again. After a full 10 hours, Lin Jun's dark star's core was completely condensed. This is great. Only the last step is left. Only the core is left. Lin Jun was practically wild with joy. These 10 hours of absorption and compression had only reduced the volume of the neutron by a third. The outer core was formed just like that. There's still 2/3 of the neutron left. Hopefully, I can successfully condense the core. Once the core is formed, the entire planet will be completely formed. Lin Jun was incomparably looking forward to seeing what would happen once the dark star was successfully condensed. The only thing he could be sure of was that his strength would definitely soar by leaps and bounds. Even a dark star made of energy could support him to enter the star's ranking. What would a real planet do? The core was the most basic and most crucial part. In fact, the advancement of the dark star was different from the advancement of the chi in his dantian. The chi in his dantian would condense into the star core from the core. For example, the initial stage of the star core would condense into a core. Only at the peak of the star core would it gradually have the appearance of a planet. Finally, it would enter the meteor stage and turn into a celestial body that would constantly roam around the Danteon. A meteor would turn into a comet, and the comet would eventually stabilize and become a satellite. At that time, it would be considered a real planet. As for the dark star, it would start from the outside. This was something Lin Jun hadn't expected. After all, he didn't know that it would be like this. When the core was condensed, Lin Jun finally realized how big of an effect the neutron had. The compression density of the inner core was much higher, and it required more Earth elemental energy. Absorbing and compressing the neutron again and again, this cycle made Lin Jun almost numb. He forgot night and day, forgot the passage of time, and devoted himself to the process of the birth of a planet. At midnight, half of the core was completed. At dawn, 4/5 of the core was completed. When the sun was about to rise, the core was only a little bit away from completion. If the neutron was the size of a steel ball before, then it was only the size of a needle now. At this time, the familiar black hole that made Lin Jun feel fear from the bottom of his heart appeared again. It's finally the most crucial moment. Right now, my star core is only a little bit away from completion. As long as I absorb this last bit of neutron, the dark star will be completed. However, I might have to face something extremely terrifying. Should I do it or not? Lin Jun pondered for a moment. His actions had already given him the answer. He would do it to the end. Right now, I don't even dare to face the power of the black hole. In the future, when I return to the time of my rebirth, how will I have the courage to face the real black hole? At that time, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to be reborn again. The qi in his Danteon surged fiercely, and Lin Jun resolutely absorbed the last bit of neutron. In that instant, Lin Jun seemed to see a river of stars in the sky. The beautiful and boundless starry sky formed a resplendent scene in the universe. After that, a dot appeared in the sky of the universe. It grew bigger and bigger and started to rotate. That was the black hole. Everything in the surroundings was swallowed up. Every planet seemed to have turned into tiny water droplets, and they were absorbed into the black hole at an extremely high speed. After that, they were decomposed, melted, compressed, and condensed. People couldn't escape. Life couldn't escape. The surrounding celestial bodies couldn't escape. Dust couldn't escape. Light couldn't escape. Even souls couldn't escape. The black hole seemed to grow bigger and bigger in front of Lin Jun's eyes, and it was getting closer and closer. That intense feeling of suffocation nearly caused Lin Jun's mind to collapse. His pupils dilated, and his fists clenched tightly. He stared at the black hole that was getting closer and closer. An intense unwillingness that came from the depths of his soul surged out. Lin Jun didn't know where his courage came from, but he pointed at the black hole. If you have the guts, then swallow me again. Although my strength is insignificant, if you can't swallow me, then I'll tear you to pieces. He knew that when comparing his strength to the black hole's power, it was like an ant facing a planet and roaring. It was as if it wanted to use its meager strength to overturn the planet. But the ant still stubbornly wanted to try. At this moment, to a certain extent, Lin Jun had won. It was because he had the courage to overcome his fear. As Lin Jun roared, the scene in front of him suddenly changed. The black hole actually disappeared just like that. Perhaps it didn't disappear, but instead entered the depths of the Earth's core and was buried deep within the dark star. Lin Jun's entire body was dripping with sweat. It was as if he had just had an incomparably terrifying nightmare. When his mental strength swept over the dark star once more, he suddenly discovered that the dark star had already finished condensing.